Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Championship here on Simracersworld TV, and of course on the Porsche Club GB Facebook page, if I get my words out. I'm Chaz Draycott, your host for the championship, alongside Jack Werrell and Peter MacKay, and we're here, boys, for the final round of the season. I mean, when we did the first couple of rounds, we thought this is going to be a great long championship, but the Sunday afternoons have flown by, and Jack, just starting with you, mate, it's a hell of a place to round out the season because I know you're very excited to be here.
I am indeed, and yes, it really is. It's renowned for obviously the final few rounds of the British Touring Car Championship, and I'm sure we're going to be up there with the action scales today, because these Porsches throughout the season, ever since we saw them at rounds 1 and 2 at Donington Park all that time ago, they've just provided more and more and more throughout the season, and we're a circuit which is just renowned for providing great action, and with a car which is quite hard not to drive quickly, because everybody's spent, 14 rounds in the car at least, and we've now crowned our champion as well, so I'm expecting to see some proper aggressive, close, quick racing throughout.
Indeed, it's going to be a great one, this one, and Peter, of course, it's been great to have you with us during this championship as well. What are you looking forward to in this final round?
Well, I think I have to echo Jack's sentiment that kind of the gloves are off now. Championship is decided, and it's all going to come down to just who wants to go for it today. And of course, we've got two 20-minute races. The first set by qualifying, and then the second, our beloved reverse grid race, where we're certainly not short of action with that. Now, I just spotted on camera Austin Greatorex, who's currently sitting in second spot right now. He, in the last 5 minutes or so, if you watch him here, what is he doing here? He is practicing his starts. So he's working on getting that car off the line. That's the first time I've seen Austin doing that, but he's done, I think, 6 or 7 now while we're waiting to go on air. Look at that, just practicing his launch control starts, because of course this 911 GT3 Cup car has a very useful launch control system, which drivers have picked up throughout the season.
Yeah, it's been something that some of them didn't even know the car had for a while, and then they've come to master it. And he's in front of Carl Sharkey there, who's probably, well, to be fair, Carl's one of the first drivers to really show everyone that it works so well. He's now out of the way. Carl Sharkey, of course, was second in the championship coming into the previous race meeting. However, Ryan Parkins was crowned champion at Spa-Francorchamps, and very deserving indeed. I mean, he's top of the times again at the moment in practice. Dan Bathy is second at the moment, and, well, I mean, we've appreciated the liveries all season, but Peter has definitely confirmed that is it's your favourite livery, that one, isn't it, mate?
It is. It's a very close replica to the Earl Bamber Motorsport cars. Of course, Earl Bamber, a proud Kiwi, and his race team that he has with his brother Will carry a similar paint scheme. Her Sacred Coffee are actually, I believe, are one of the sponsors of the British Carrera Cup. In fact, official coffee sponsor of the British Carrera Cup. And for those of us who have been in the racing paddock and understand it's the way it works, I tell you what, having a good coffee sponsor is about the best sponsor you could have, short of a beer sponsor, of course. The Sacred Coffee that's what is emblazoned over Dan's car for today's race, and he's going quick to be just 400th of a second from Ryan Parkins. Oh, we've cursed him there, he's into the gravel. He's looking pretty strong. So with no pressure, no championship to worry about at least for the outright win in the championship. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, it will be indeed. Always Dan as another little excursion there. I think he was just trying to avoid Andrew Marston in the Pink Pig, who's put himself in the gravel at Clearways. Not the best for him. Luke Holroyd in the 911 car, a wonderful 911, and the Porsche Sport livery, of course, covering that machine. Austin Greaterex has actually put in the YouTube chat, he doesn't use the launch control, he's actually using just good old clutch control, so he's just getting used to how that works in this car, or he's at least just caning it round now to actually get the car to do more than 50 mile an hour. No, into the wall though, that's not where you want it to do those sorts of speeds, but this is the thing about Brands Hatch, isn't it, Jack? It's a very tricky circuit because of all the elevation change, and a lot of it happens mid-corner, especially here at Paddock Hill.
Yeah, it's a very tricky circuit to get a handle on, especially in these cars as well, where we know that with the engine being at the rear of the car, if you're on the brakes that fraction of a second too longer, or you pick up the throttle just that little bit too early, it will spin you around and you'll be facing the wrong way. And at a circuit which has got a few blind apexes, and like you said, it's a lot of elevation change, it's going to be very tricky to stop your car from spinning, but also very tricky if you approach a car that's spinning to get it slowed down and go the right direction, because you might want to do something and the car and the track want to do completely the other. So the reverse grid race, I'm guessing it's going to be eventful, let's go with.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very lively one, and I can't wait to see how the guys get on. And of course, spirits will be high as we get to the end of our season to round it out, and everyone's done a smashing job to help run it, put it together, and just make the racing so entertaining. It was Mark Bowe has a real moment there, that lasted for a while. Stuart Clark flying past him there. Another great livery in this series. Oh, someone's had a proper moment at Druids by the look of it. Someone has gone right off at the top of the hill. Not quite sure who that would have been. Maybe James Cummings? Let's have a look. No, that would have been later around the lap that James has gone off. But we've seen a lot of the guys losing it, and then the car just isn't savable. It just bounces one way then the other, and they've not been able to save it that well, to be honest. So it's going to be interesting to see over the course of the race whether when these guys are pushing in traffic, whether it gets more and more difficult. This is Ryan Penny in the number 99 car. He's just going a little bit tentatively around Sterling's there. And that's quite a difficult corner to get right, isn't it, Peter? Because it's on camber, so the car suddenly grips, but the camber very quickly goes away on exit. So it sort of tricks you into a false sense of security, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a corner where you can use the rear engine layout of the car very much to your advantage, because the car, the weight of the engine is over the wheels, so it gets you really good traction. That's what these Porsches are so famous for. And actually, last week I was chatting to Kat Impey on the Porsche Sport podcast, and she's actually driven this car a lot in real life and in the sim, and she actually was really fascinating insight. Actually, she says that it's actually much trickier in the sim than it is in real life, and says it kind of has a bit of a reputation that it almost doesn't deserve. You do get that kind of pendulum effect, but in effect it is still actually a relatively friendly car to drive in the real world. She also says that the more modern versions, the latest versions of the car, the weight of the engine is pushed a little bit more forward than it used to be, so it's more over the wheels rather than hanging over the back of them, and that's made a big difference as well.
Yeah, there's a lot you have to think about when driving these cars. You have to be very careful with each and every input because of that balance. But I think the guys are doing a cracking job at the minute. And to be honest, as the season's gone on, we've seen some epic racing. Paul Rieger, of course, don't forget, he had a great drive in the second race at Spa last weekend, taking the race win. Very comfortable race win there, wasn't it, Jack? But sometimes they're the better ones to have, because you don't want all the hassle and to ruin your tyres and really struggle. I mean, it may be a bit more exciting, but a lot of the time, if you can just cruise to a victory, it'll be very, very pleasing for you once you get it done.
Yeah, he did an absolutely amazing job at Spa, and Spa is one of those circuits, much like Brands Hatch. It's quite a tricky circuit to really get into, and it is in a slightly different respect to Brands Hatch, because like you say, it's quite twisty through the back sections, but they're very quick and undulating corners. Whereas on Spa, yes, you've got the very quick sections of Eau Rouge and Raidillon, and that's probably one of the quickest corners on the circuit. But it's got a lot of friendly runoff opposed to unfriendly runoff, I guess, because it's not grass and gravel. A lot of it is tarmac, so you can get away with those little mistakes. And he didn't seem to have any, because during that race he got to the front and just left everybody behind him, and that's just showing how wrong it can go into turn one. That's quite a soft impact for Garwadine. He's got away with that, but yeah, he just did exactly what he needed to do, got into the lead and left everybody behind. And even the championship winner at the time, think, or maybe he won it at the end of race 2. Ryan Parkins did everything he could to catch up, and he still could get within striking distance of Riga, and he's just about in the top 10 during practice. So I'm expecting a couple of good results from Riga today.
Yeah, I think Paul's gonna get to grips with this track pretty quickly when qualifying comes around, which is just now. Porsche Sport in the chat, as always. Luke Holroyd has said to me that the liveries have something else on them today. We will break the immersion for just a moment here, everybody, as we wait for Carl Sharkey to pop back out into the sim. I know they have the Breakfast of Champions sticker on the rear end, so apologise here for the camera change, but let's have a look. Congratulations, Ryan Parkins. Thank you to... Oh, there you go. Look at that. Beautiful. We're on the cars. Jack's name's above me, which I'm upset about, but that's fine. No, I'm joking. But that's a wonderful touch, that, from the Porsche Sport guys. Thank you very much, guys. Honestly, that does mean a lot, that. And because now I've edited that camera, we're not going to be using chase cam for the rest of the broadcast, and thankfully, chase cam's not realistic, so we don't use it. But it's a nice touch, that, and that's the thing with... I mean, even in real life racing, you see that as well, don't you, Peter? Where a lot of the time, liveries, they mean a lot to people, and if they can sort of make a tribute to something, then they will do. And it's nice to see that does extend into sim racing, isn't it?
It does, yeah, and I think with sim racing, you've got that flexibility to chop and change it whenever you want, and we see it all the time, that little different, tribute liveries and what have you. And you just have to look at what happened with Porsche Le Mans 2 years ago in 2018 when they brought the old Rothmans livery back. In fact, I've got my Rothmans Porsche socks on today, actually, my heel tread socks. And you saw like the Rothmans paint scheme, which most Porsche fans they remember very fondly, with Jackie X, Derek Bell, Hans Stuck, and the Porsche 956 and 962s. But so they brought that back, and they also brought back, of course, the Pink Pig, which is probably the most fondly remembered of all Porsche liveries. And of course, we've got it here in the championship. Andrew Marston's been running that livery for most of the season. So yeah, absolutely. And these are quite old liveries now from when they first came out. Of course, Rothman's a tobacco brand, so very much not cricket to advertise that anymore. But yeah, it's I love a throwback livery myself, and I think they do pluck on the heartstrings a wee bit.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. And I can't remember the exact name of it. I think it was on one of the 917s that there was a red livery with all the white down the front of it as well. They recently made a bit of a homage to that, did Porsche. And there's certain elements of old liveries that can just look absolutely cracking, even on modern machinery. And I mean, you look at the 934, the tribute to the old Moby Dick cars, and it looks absolutely stunning. And with the modern twists on it, I wasn't a humongous fan when I first saw the pictures, I will admit. But then I saw one in person at Autosport International, and I went weak at the knees when I went around the corner and just saw it sitting there, because it's just an unbelievably pretty piece of kit. And to be honest, I mean, I know Jack's probably shaking his head right now thinking, no, nothing beats the Porsche Cup car that we're looking at right now, because he's a humongous fan, and we'll go on board with Mark Baxter-Jones. But I'll tell you what, Jack, he's going to start his fast lap. Why don't you take us on a lap with Mr. Baxter-Jones himself?
With pleasure. So now going down through Cleoways under the Advent Bridge in towards Clark Curve, late on the brakes, but you don't want to be too late because we've already seen it happen once. There's not massive amounts of run-off. As soon as you get on the gravel, you just get understeer, hugging the wall. Well, I was expecting to hug the wall and hug the white line on the right-hand side just to minimise the distance you've got to go down the straight. On the brakes into turn 1, as Paddock Hill Bend, making sure not to over-rotate the car on exit, using all the curb you dare. Now up through Pilgrim's Rise into Druids, looking for the apex. Quite a flat curb at Druid, so you really can use all of it. Now down the hill, you've got all the gravity assistance on the way down, but on the brakes, you've got to make sure you brake that fraction of a second earlier. In towards the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend, use all the curb on the exit. You can just about get away with that now. Going down the Cooper Straight on the run up to Surtees. Quite a tricky corner, difficult late apex. There is a bump on the curb, which you might have just seen off the left-hand side of your screen. Got to be careful, make sure you don't hit that. And now foot to the floor, down Pilgrim's Drop, up towards the very, very quick Hawthorne's Bend. Probably take it in a 5th gear in one of these. No, it's 4th gear in the 911 Cup cars. Quite a flat curve there, but not much of it, so make sure you don't hit the grass on entry or exit. Now going in towards Westfield, a tricky corner as well, very easy to get an off track on the way in. On the way out, you can get away with it just very slightly. Now down Dingledale up towards Sheen Curve, a very difficult corner, probably one of the hardest ones on the circuit, using all the curve on the entry. Nearly gets collected by the spinning Mark Bow, I think that was, maybe not, but now going through Sterling's, the left-hander, back to where we started the lap, under the Advan Bridge. in towards Clark Curve. Quite a clean lap from Mark Baxter-Jones. I do fear, though, that he might have picked up an off-track going through Westfield. It looked like he used a lot of the curb, but let's see where this puts him. He crosses the line now. He's just been demoted down to 6th position. Is it a personal best? I don't think it was.
No.
I don't think the lap even counted. I think he did get that 1x at Westfield.
Well, thank you very much, Jack, for running us through that one, but unfortunately for Baxter-Jones it didn't count. The Haribo car, oh okay, he's going to chuck it into the barriers, but he's actually just gone quicker there and put himself up into 11th place as Danny Jones. This is Johnny Elia at the moment, who has been a big fan of some of my exploits in the in the real world at the moment. I posted that I'm currently still, I'm not going to say building my studio, I'm still fitting out the studio at the moment in the new house, and I was using a lovely, very masculine, bright pink female glue gun the other day with a lovely matte pink it was as well, and he was a humongous fan of the glue gun that I was using to stick up my soundproof foaming, so he's been following my exploits on there, and hopefully it's spurred him on to have an enjoyable evening here. He's always been there or thereabouts this season though, hasn't he actually, Peter? He's always in the top 10, just grabbing points.
Yep, he certainly has. It's I have to say, this is it's almost a bit like watching. Do you remember when Big Brother, you could watch every single minute of it live? 24 hours a day, you could watch what was going on in the Big Brother house. I feel that's what it's like following your office build, Chaz. I feel like I've been there with you every step of the way.
Well, I will continue to bring the coverage. I will continue to bring that. I only have half a wall of soundproof foam at the moment, in case anyone's wondering. I know you don't care. But to be honest, it's been interesting moving into this new house because I've now got 2 desks with triples on, so it feels a bit boss, but it's there's still plenty to do. There are 3 stories and 4 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms to sort out, so a bit of space to try and fill, but it's all good all the same. Andrew Marston's just pulled over at the side of the circuit there. We've got Stuart Clark, and he's a bit further down than he usually is there, actually. Stuart Clark's usually in the midfield, but not so much performance from him at the moment. He's 6.7 seconds off. He's just on an out lap. Ryan Penny hasn't done a valid lap yet, but he's on a quick lap as well. Parkins, though, nearly half a second clear as things stand. He's a big drift through Sheen Curve. That's very tasty through there. Gavin Halls is in 3rd place. Well, he's not. He's in the gravel. He's off at Clearways there. He's Gavin Halls. Let's see what's happened here. Has he clipped the grass on the way in? Oh, no, he's got. That's the 777 of Mark Searle. Oh, he just turns in on Mark, if anything. But if he was on a hot lap, Mark maybe should have given it up. But there you go. Paul Rieger, 4th at the moment. Greaterex in 2nd. So we've got some of the usual front runners up there. Dan Bathy's down in 10th at the moment. Luke Holroyd is in 11th position. Danny Jones, 12th. Oliver Carwadine in 13th. Carl Hazelton is in 15th at the moment in the number 24 car. Big fan of how that looks as well. And seeing as Peter's definitely designated his favourite livery this season, Jack, what do you reckon yours is, mate?
It's quite a tricky one, if I'm honest, because there are lots of new liveries that have arrived throughout the season as well. Obviously, with the Porsche Sport livery making an appearance in the closing stages. In terms of liveries that I wouldn't take a second glance at if it were in a proper Porsche paddock, I would either say Carwadine or Rieger, because both their cars very similar in the sort of concept of the livery. I love the red with the black and the GT3 Cup vinyl going down the side, and it's similar with Paul Rieger's, because that's red and white, and now you've got the blue and white with the Rieger Racing vinyl up the bonnet. You wouldn't take a second glance at that. It looks like it's at home here at Brands Hatch, and so it should do. And I can't wait just to get racing already. And you said Paul Rieger was towards the point end of the field. He's in 5th position at the moment, which makes you think he's quite close to the current provisional pole sitter of Ryan Parkins. But he's almost 1.2 seconds adrift in 5th position. So it just shows the class of Ryan Parkins and what he's bringing to the table. He's won his championship and he's going, right, let's lay my cards on the table and show him what we've got.
Yeah, definitely. The car just ahead of him on track there. James Cummings in the number 2 machine. Big slide there from James Cummings. I really like the chrome blue on this, and of course there's the flag on the roof for him with the orange highlights. It's nice and simple, but it works. That's up there for me, I reckon. Mark Phillips, who we were just looking at a moment ago with what I'm going to call a Prism-esque livery. Of course, it's a homage to a previous Porsche racing livery that I'm still trying to remember the name of. Peter, save me.
is the Dempsey Proton.
Dempsey, that's
so
the
when
name.
Patrick Dempsey, for those who have seen Grey's Anatomy, Patrick Dempsey, he went to race at Le Mans, and it's in fact he's still an owner of the team. It's still called Dempsey Proton, and they still run similar colour scheme. They have a kind of grey and black one, and then blue and black. So yeah, that's I guess that's where Mark's got his inspiration from.
It's a very tasty looking car as well, and the metallics there looks certainly very good. The Quantum Racing livery of Austin Greatorex as well. That's a very tasty looking car. All the matte black at the front, and then the glossy, I'm going to call it sick green all over it. But it just, I was going
to go for bogies.
Yeah. It does look like someone sneezed on the front of it, to be fair, but it looks good for it though. Don't get me wrong. Anyone watching from Quantum Racing who's just started typing out, "Oh, I'm offended" on an email, honestly, I think it looks absolutely brilliant. It really does. It suits the car quite a lot, and it catches your eye. It stands out. So I'm a big fan of that. I like Amrik Saktev's car because I think that's another one that's quite a realistic livery, as we've been saying. Of course, with his company logo up the side of it as well. He's just wrestling the car around Sheen Curve at the moment. It's a difficult circuit, this, though, because of the fact, as Carl Sharkey goes fourth fastest, it's difficult because there's no runoff. There's just grass. It's either just grass or gravel. And a lot of the corners, you really need to use all of the circuit, especially on that back section through the forest as well. So the guys don't have much room for any mistakes here. Mark Bowe is another guy with a good livery on that car as well. The light blue, of course, matching with the wheels that he's got painted on it. But I think it's going to have to be the Haribo car, just because, again, I still think it's actually a realistic livery. I think we'd probably see it, to be fair. Because I've seen Haribo sponsored machinery before, and I don't think that this livery would be too far away from it. There's actually a very interesting livery in the real life Porsche Sprint Challenge, I believe it's called, the GT4 Caymans. They've got their own series in real life now, going around with the MSVR GT Cup. And there's actually one of the liveries in that series. I do not remember the name of the driver, but it's the entire thing is painted like Chupa Chups, the lollies. And it's literally black at the front with the company logo on it, and then it's just like a big red explosion all over it, and loads of lollies all over it, and it looks absolutely brilliant. I loved it. And apparently, I think he's actually, I believe the guy that drives it is actually one of the owners of the company as well, so if you're going to get your branding out there with a decent livery, you may as well do it. But we'll stop oogling over liveries. Gavin Halls has actually got within 2/10 of Ryan Parkins here, Peter, and to be honest, we've always said that Gavin Halls is quick, and now I think it's really, really showing that he can take the fight to Parkins in qualifying on true pace.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And it's interesting in practice. The top few guys were separated by almost nothing, less than a tenth, and now it's a little bit more stretched out. So you wonder if some of the really ultimately fastest guys have been maybe just working on their race pace in practice, and then now it's for qualifying. But Gavin's put in so much effort doing the track walks midweek with all the guys to help everyone get their pace up, which has been hugely appreciated by everyone in the community. And it's been a pleasure to see, and especially around the flowing contours of this Brands Hatch circuit. It's such a driver's challenge, and I think that's why you won't find many people who don't enjoy driving Brands, because it's just so rewarding when you get it right, and such a challenge. So easy to drop a wheel and make a mistake. But do you know that actually we have cyclists to thank for the layout of Brands Hatch? Because it was actually a group of cyclists in 1926 that discovered the Brands Hatch area. And in fact, the first race here at Brands Hatch was a very odd race between cyclists and cross-country runners, and the runners won.
What?
I know.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know what they'd eat for breakfast, those runners, but they must have been going fast. That's pretty crazy. Dan Bathy is now down to 6th position. Mark Phillips has gone ahead of him. Carl Sharkey and Austin Greatorex not able to improve on their fastest times at the moment. We do have a live timing link available as well, everybody. I'm just going to try and post it into the YouTube chat, but because I'm not the actual owner of the stream, it may not let me. No, it has. There you go. There is a live timing link in there now, if you would like to give that a go. I'm not logged in as the owner of the stream anyway. I'm not logged in as Simracersworld TV because I'm a silly boy. But yeah, I think we've got another round here that's very, very close. And no, it hasn't let me post the link, so ignore me. There you go. There's the link. It works now from the Simracersworld TV account. Jack, Ryan Parkins, top of the pile again. Do you think he's going to drive away with this, or do you think he's going to have a bit of a battle on his hands as the race goes on?
Good question, really. I've got a sneaking suspicion he's going to be quite surprised with the pace of everybody around here, because at the start of this session, he was 7/10 up on everybody, and now we're going into the closing 10 minutes, and Gavin Halls is only 0.18 seconds behind him, and he's got very close, and you've got the great talent of Greater X just 0.3 back, and then exactly half a second back, you've got Sharky, and then it just goes on and on from there. So I think Parkins, he might have been quietly confident coming in, but everybody throughout the session has just been getting quicker and quicker and quicker, and I think that's going to produce quite a close race up towards the top end of the field. Maybe something we haven't seen earlier on in this season. And you mentioned your beloved Haribo livery. I did my research on that not too long back, and it did appear in an official race. So we're now looking at Danny Jones. That livery, including the green wing mirrors, was on a Porsche 997 GT3. And it was in pretty much exactly the same livery as Danny Jones's car. It was the number 88 car, and it raced at the 6-hour ADAC VLN in 2010.
I was going to say, because it looks like there's VLN number boards on it. You can see them on the bonnet there. The Zurich blue number boards, which have become synonymous with any events at the Nürburgring, really. And yeah, they're obviously not filled in on there because iRacing doesn't paste the numbers onto the bonnet, but you can see that they're hidden behind the Porsche Club number boards as well. He's just in the way of Austin Greatorex here. Whether Austin's on a fast lap or not, he's not on an out lap, so I imagine that may be hindering Austin's lap, and he might not be too chuffed with that. But this is the thing, you need to, with such a wide range of talent in this field, you need to make sure you've got the space, and Austin is doing that right now. He's actually slowing down to give himself the room in front to Danny Jones. Danny not too much slower than him. It's about 2.4 seconds off the leaders at the moment is Danny, so I mean, even now it's still a very close field, to be honest. A lot of these guys as well, they weren't really sim racers before this series. They got into iRacing and got on board with the service as something for over lockdown, really, to get involved with sim racing and how it all works and make sure that they still have some racing going on. And to be honest, it's been brilliant. It's been very well received as well. We've enjoyed covering it, and I know the guys have enjoyed racing in it and watching the broadcasts back. And there is just something about it, isn't there, Peter? When you are racing, if you can watch a broadcast of it back later, I think it's pretty special to see your name and see you driving on a broadcast, because it's not something that everyone gets to enjoy, is it?
Yeah, I have to be honest, I've had that experience once or possibly twice, and a self-indulgent moment for a second. I actually raced in something called the Performance Playoff, which was run by an American endurance team called Performance Tech Motorsports. I ended up on the podium with two real-world IMSA drivers, and it was broadcast, and I have to say it was utterly surreal, but very cool nonetheless. There is, you're right, it's no matter where you are in the field, there is something quite satisfying about. And I was running an Acuria Cos paint scheme as well, old Scottish race teams, so that was even more cool. But yeah, it's really cool. And also, some of the racing that we've seen has been so close, and this 911 GT3 Cup car really does, because the cars are so closely matched. And in the real world, a lot of people who are maybe Formula One fans watching, they might recognise these cars from the Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup, which is kind of like a support series for Formula One. And if you look at all the champions of the Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup, there's been 18 different champions of that series. 10 of them have won the Le Mans 24 Hours. Which is, I thought, wow. It just shows you that yes, you've got guys like Nicky Thiem, Jörg Bergmeister, Richard Westbrook, Earl Bamber, and many others. But only one has won the German Dacia Logan Cup, and that's René Rast.
That's pretty crazy, isn't it? And like you say, the level of talent is just, it's impeccable, isn't it? Really impeccable from those sorts of guys. And to be honest, I think that we've got a lot of very quick sim races in the making in this series as well. Some of the guys, like I said, they weren't really on board with it to begin with. In terms of sim racing, anyway, you know, they've got on and given it a go and found that it is an incredibly enjoyable experience. And I think, to be honest, it speaks volumes of the numbers that we've seen all season as well, doesn't it, Jack? Because there's been a solid grid of guys that turn up week in, week out and really enjoy themselves here.
Yeah, they do, and they're more than happy to as well, because throughout the season they've been building that trust within themselves and the other drivers, and they've been helping out and chipping into the community and how they develop as well. So I think this has started a love for sim racing and probably started quite a few friendships just through one season. And I'm more than happy if a season 2 comes about, and I'm sure everybody watching is as well, because it's produced some absolutely amazing racing. And there's one thing I did wish upon Ryan Parkins, if maybe he didn't do too well at Spa, because I wanted the championship fight to go to the last round, but obviously that hasn't happened, and still that doesn't take away from it. Massive well done to Ryan Parkins for winning the championship at Spa. But you mentioned something earlier, being able to look back and watch the stream back and see your name and your car, and that's something that the community does very well. They always come by and say thank you or well done to anybody that's associated with the race, and I think that just shows that that sort of community, sort of club racing spirit as well. And I'm sure you're more than aware. Well, that's pretty much a car park on the Cooper Straight. That's Baxter Jones in there as well. But as I'm sure you're more than aware, Chaz, I'm quite fond of Brands Hatch for one main reason associated with sim racing.
I am indeed. And to be honest, I'm not surprised that you are, because even in real life as well, I mean, it's a hell of a venue to go to. There's so many good races that go on here, and it often is the final round of the British Touring Car Championship as well, which provides a lot of excitement for everybody that watches. And to be honest, I mean, it's such a driver's circuit, as Peter was saying before, with all the undulation and stuff. It's just mega. Really is mega to drive around here. I'm just wondering now, though, Gavin Halls is on an outlap here, and he's actually getting a bit of slipstream off Carl Hazelton, but on an outlap it doesn't really matter too much. But I think that with just a couple of minutes to go, we're going to see the final laps coming in now. Ryan Parkins has just gone off the circuit, only just getting missed by Mark Bowe. What happened there? Maybe pushed too hard on the exit. Yeah. Oh, Mark Bowe. Wow, that was great avoidance by Mark Bowe, though, to be honest. Let's have another look from on board with him. You see Ryan just get out of shape in front over the curb. Carl goes left. Mark just goes right. Boom. Love it. Absolutely love it. And that's the sort of avoidance you need in those sorts of scenarios, isn't it, Peter? Because it happens quite a lot in these cars. Like we've been saying, they're not easy to drive.
No, and a lot of the time, when you're, especially in qualifying mode, when you're really pushing hard, and you've got 25 minutes, and the lap here at Brands Hatch isn't that long, so you can't really, you've got to just go for it 100%. And if you make a mistake and crash, well, the great thing about sim racing is you can just press escape and go back to the pits and have another go. But so yeah, that's why, I mean, like I said, that is a rare sight to see Ryan Parkins lose control of the racing car. But that just shows you in qualifying mode. And interestingly, Ryan's time, 1 minute 25.5, he posted that time very early in the session. So perhaps now just chasing those last hundreds of a second. But he's still looking pretty cosy right now in pole. But Gavin Halls is still out circulating, couple of minutes to go. So you never know. Gavin Halls is certainly, I bet you Gavin Halls, he really will be buoyed, and his confidence will be sky high after finally getting a win at Spa last time out, which really has been coming all season, to be honest. And I think now that he's got that kind of monkey off his back and he's got that race win in the bag. Well, I think we could see a great fight between Parkins and Halls today. We
certainly could, and they just need to make sure that when they are battling, it's very easy to overdo it around here, and hopefully neither of them do that. But we've got now Gavin Halls. We're just keeping an eye on him here, because I reckon he is a threat to Ryan Parkins' pole position here. He's got such pace around there. Oh, he's a bit deep into clearways, though. There's the commentator's curse working at its hardest. Let's see what we can do. Thank you, everyone that is viewing so far. We hope you're enjoying the show and hope you are looking forward to a great final race meeting. Gavin's going to go on to another lap now as he goes down Paddock Hill Bend up towards Druids. On the brakes again. It's hard to go late on the brakes here. He's a bit deep into Druids, but he can carry a lot of speed round there. Sometimes it can actually help on the exit. You get a good run down towards Graham Hill Bend. Get the car nice and stable. Look at the tiny amount of steering lock he's putting in. They must have this thing set up quite oversteery. Don't forget, of course, everyone on the same setup as well. Really late apex in Surtees there. Gets a good run on the exit. You don't want to hit that grass on the inside because that'll drag the car in and it'll oversteer on the exit. Down the hill as well. Pilgrim's Drop then. Long right-hander here is so difficult to overtake at as well. I've seen people go around the outside there as well. I know that Jack was actually in a race in another series that I run where someone went round the outside there, and you've got to be a bit insane to do that, haven't you, mate?
You really do. I think if I get it correct, it was possibly Josh Rayfield that put up the courage in a front-wheel drive car to go around the outside at one of the quickest corners on the circuit. And it's not just necessarily bravery to do that; it's the confidence within yourself and the car and the other driver not to like leave you no room. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw that today, because the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, it can probably get around there slightly easier than the front-wheel drive Volkswagen Jetta here on iRacing. So I think that we maybe can't quite write it off the cards yet. I think the time we'll see that is that reverse grid race 2. And that's probably the one I'm looking forward to the most at the moment. We never know. We might just have a stellar race 1, and race 2 has got to live up to it. But that's all to come, as we've just ticked past the final few seconds of the qualifying session. And Gavin Hall's still on provisional pole. We've got Hall's currently in provisional P2, Greater X P3, and Sharky P4, and they're all in the pits. So the top 4 at the moment are all set, but Dan Bathy's still out on circuit, so he might manage to promote himself those 400ths quicker just to see whether he can pick off Sharky. No, maybe not then.
Maybe not. Well, that was... I don't know if that was commentator's curse or not. I think that was just Dan Bathy making a mess of his lap. Mark Baxter-Jones is another one who... Oh, he's actually backed off there by the look of it. That's not race pace round there. So he is not going to be improving his time. James Cummings is taking the shorter pit entrance there. Love that. Amrik Sashdev coming around the final corner. He's dipped a wheel in the grass. That's very lively out of clearways. Ryan Penny is off the circuit. He's pulled it over as well. Across the line he goes then. Let's see what he does. And no, it's not an improvement from Amrik Sashdev. So we are going to be given our grid any second now then. Just going to try and sort everything out on the overlay very quickly for you. We still have Ryan Penny though out on circuit at the moment. He's just pulled the car over, so he's not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. But to be honest, I think we're going to be in for a right treat here, because we've got so many drivers that are going to be on it for this final round. Gloves are going to be off, and I think we're going to be seeing a hell of a lot of fun, actually, to be honest. Because, to be honest, Peter, when it comes to this final one, there's going to be sort of no holds barred with a lot of them, are there?
Yeah, it's kind of like that last day of school scenario where you could behave as badly as you wanted on the last day of school, because you then had the holidays to sort of let all the teachers calm down. So you never know, we might see the same. The reverse grid race is normally pretty calamitous anyway, and here at Brands, the last day of school, everyone's going to want to get a good result in towards the end of the championship. But I believe that it'll only be looking about 6 weeks gap or so until the next season. So yeah, it's look, and I believe the community have got a few fun races planned in the meantime. But here's our runners then for race 1.
Ryan Parkins then, now newly crowned champion, takes pole position. Gavin Hall second with Greater X and Sharky on row 2. Then it's Dan Bathy and Mark Phillips on row 3. Baxter Jones lines up in 7th with Paul Riga in 8th, ahead of James Cummings and Johnny Elia. Oliver Carwadine is 11th with Mark Bowe in 12th. Behind him is Stuart Clark in 13th place, with Luke Holroyd down in 14th place there for Porsche Sport. Danny Jones in the Haribo car lines up 15th, just ahead of Paul Stout. Carl Hazelton will line up 17th, with Amrik Sashdev just behind him. Ryan Penny will be 19th on the grid, and then Andrew Marston is just behind Mark Surley, rounds out your top 20. And the Pink Pig will be at the back of the order. As we just wait now then for a handful of the cars to just spawn onto the grid. Mark Phillips and Luke Holroyd. We're waiting for Amrik Sashdev in the background as well, actually. He should pop up just on the right of your screen there next to Carl Hazelton. There he is. And Mark Phillips just takes the grid there at the very front as well. So, round 15 of the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Championship from Brands Hatch is away. And it was a very smooth start by Gavin Halls on the right-hand side of the grid. Mark Phillips jumping around the outside there of Dan Bathy into turn 1. Nice and hesitant by everybody in there. James Cummings has had a nightmare start and lost 3 places off the line. But as they go up the hill, Austin Greatorex got a really good start but didn't manage to get past Gavin Halls. Mark Phillips is on the outside of Dan Bathy still. We're going to keep our eye on the mid-pack, see if there's any shenanigans through there. But so far, Jack, it looks like everyone's behaving themselves through here, which is really nice to see.
It does indeed. I think people...
Never mind.
Oh, you had to go and say so, didn't you? Amrik Sashdev, someone who I was fully expecting to get a good result today. I think he deserves one. through the hardship he's had this season. He gets a tap from the 99 behind, and it pings him up the grass. And we've had an incident with Mark Searle as well, so it's all gone wrong going through Surtees by the looks of it. Let's see what happened on the run-up. Danny Jones gets spun around by, I think that was possibly Sharky.
Luke Holroyd it was in there. Luke Holroyd had the contact with him. Mark Phillips had his own issue as well, actually. Peter, what's gone on here, mate?
I think he maybe just got checked up behind Carl Sharkey. Yeah, he's just on the brakes and just had to let off the brake. He looked like he was going to lock up and go into the back of Carl Sharkey there, and had to sort of back out of it. But don't think he had any contact really. So as we see, Dan Bathy's had an issue as well in the mid part of the circuit in the kind of woodland area. So he's gonna, let's see what happens to him. So coming up towards Hawthorne, I think that is. No, sorry, my apologies, Westfield, and then. Oh dear, that's a big shunt there. That's those guardrails, they are not forgiving at all. So that, yeah, he's back in pit lane taking a repair to get back. But oh, surprise, Mr. Ryan Parkins, number 25. Everything is consistent in life. There's nothing surer in life than death taxes and Ryan Parkins dominating Porsche Club of Great Britain races.
Definitely is, and there's a lot going on here. There's a bit of contact between Stuart Clark and James Cummings, the two very pretty blue machines that I love so much, making contact. Oh, Stuart's looking very racy here down the inside, has to get out of it. Luke Holroyd's going to try and take a bit of advantage of that as well. And then you've got Paul Stout behind them, but look at this as you look in front. It's just a train of cars here as they go down towards Pilgrim's Drop. And this is the thing now, Jack. It's very much a one-line circuit in a lot of places, so once you start trying to make moves on one another or try and take advantage, it can very quickly check up, can't it?
It really can, and like you say, there's not much room for overtaking opportunity. I think Sector 1 and Sector 2 are the places where you're going to do it, but Luke Holroyd isn't going to listen to me. He's going to go, no, I'm going to throw it up the inside at Dingledale, and on the way up to Sheen Curve, gets the move done. And I think if you get up the inside going through Sheen Curve, the driver on the outside has got to concede the position. If he hangs around the outside, he will just clip the grass at very high speed indeed. But Luke Holroyd, great opportunistic driving, throws it up the inside and gets the position made up to P11. That's Mark Searle sideways. Does he keep it out of the barrier? Locks everything up. Eric Sachdev's on the way, waits patiently for him, grabs reverse and continues on. But quite an eventful start to the race. We're only 3 laps in and we've still got around 16 and a half minutes to go.
Yeah, it has kicked off very quickly here. We've got cars close all over the circuit. This is Carl Hazelton and Ryan Penny, 14th and 15th at the moment. Biggest mover in the field, actually, Ryan Penny. He's gained 4 spots. So is Johnny Elia, actually, in 6th position. Started 10th. He's just behind Paul Rieger. Baxter Jones having a bit of an excursion behind him. Oh, we've got Ryan Penny off the circuit now. I had to say it, didn't I? Mark Phillips. Oh, someone needs to sign Mark Phillips up to a Ninja Academy or something. Oh, and Stuart Clark and Luke Holroyd. Stuart Clark and Luke Holroyd have had a nightmare. Dan Bathy, you say?
Yeah, a little further up on the event viewer, he's had a slightly big incident as well because it popped up twice. I think he managed to hit something so hard.
He's just stopped, hasn't he? He's stopped leaving the pit lane there. Let's have a look what happened to Ryan Penny. Oh, he's just lost it on the grass on the exit there. And Stuart Clark and Luke Holroyd. Let's have a look. Oh, Stuart loses it and then smacks into the side of Luke. Luke completely rolls over into the barrier 1.5 times. And Stuart was a bit lively earlier on, wasn't he, Peter, when he was trying to make moves on James Cummings, and it seems like that sort of moving around, no matter where you are on the circuit, has actually bitten himself in the backside, unfortunately.
Yeah, I actually think Stuart had the best of intentions there. I think he was trying to give Luke as much room as he could. He knew he was on the outside and forgot about the grass on the left-hand side, and as soon as you put a wheel on the grass here, it's just like driving on ice. If you've ever driven your car on snow or ice, it's pretty much the same sensation. You lose control completely, and that's exactly what happened there. So a bit unlucky all round, really, because Luke was doing nothing wrong, and yeah, he got sent to space there. So that is a shame. So yeah, a little bit more attrition than we expected, actually. Is Andrew Marston? Oh dear, the Pink Pig car there getting a little bit second-hand as well. I think he's taking a tow back to pit lane. Oh, that is one very unhappy Pink Pig there. So, Mark Phillips, well, the ninja himself. We used to call him the Bernie Ecclestone of Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing because he's our series organizer. But I think we should call him the ninja now. You're right. That save to avoid the calamity in front of him was just amazing from Mark, the number 17 driver. And of course, Mark does drive a Porsche 911 in real life. I believe it's a Carrera 2S, I think he has. He's got the wrong gearbox, though. He should have a manual. He's got a PDK. But anyway, that's just me. But he knows what this car feels like in real life. Not a Cup one, of course, but a 911 is a 911 nonetheless.
And Luke Holroyd has popped up in the YouTube chat saying, "So I'm in chat." Yes, mate. Very strange incident that there with Stuart. I think Stuart just moving around a bit into the braking zone, and I mean, we know that these cars move around a lot on the brakes because we've mentioned it all season. Very rearward brake bias on these cars, just to make sure that all the weight at the rear end gets stopped very, very well. And I think just that little bit of movement, catching the grass, and suddenly it was all over. Oliver Carbadine here has James Cummings and Mark Bowe right behind him. The three of them covered by just under a second as things stand. Going down from Druids, car 80, position 8. Down through Graham Hill Bend. We've had some fantastic racing already though in this one, and I think it's only going to get better as the afternoon goes on. Final race meeting of the season, gloves are well and truly off. You can see them all taking different lines around here, and to be honest, I think that's where some of the inexperience may show sometimes. You know, it's all about carrying momentum in motorsport, and some of these guys do take different lines just to try and put the pressure on a bit, and they do hamper themselves sometimes, but I quite enjoy seeing that because you can see the drivers developing over the course of a season and all of the different sort of traits that they have in their approach to defending from another driver or trying to make a position on someone, and it just gets better and better each time. Nearly halfway through the race though at this point, Jack, and well, more battles always developing, which is what we love about this championship.
Yeah, we're in sort of the prime place for it at the moment. We're riding on board with Mark Bowe, who seems to have dropped back slightly off the tail of James Cummings, but we've got to remember James will be occupied with Carwadine just in front. So I think those two might slow each other down just enough to get Mark Bowe back in the firing position he wants. So we saw James Cummings just slightly jink out to the inside of Carwadine on the run up to Westfield, and I think that is something that the Porsches sort of do very, very well. You can just pop out into the mirrors. He's doing it again on the run up to Druids, whether that's just his line taking a slightly tighter line compared to Carwadine. He hasn't gained massive amounts from that. But I think that's what the 911 Cup cars do quite well. You can just pop out, put that extra little bit of pressure on, and in a car which is quite unforgiving, that can make all the difference. We've got somebody off on the right-hand side of the circuit. I didn't quite see who that was.
Johnny Elia. Mr. Elia has gone off. Let's have a look. Oh, he's gone off twice here, actually, Jack. These Dan Bathy's had another issue as well while watching this. Let's have a look. Here you go. What have we got?
Going around Graham Hill Bend, goes one way, goes the other. I think he over-rotated the rear on the exit and spun it around. Grabs reverse gear, almost into the line of traffic. That battle we were just riding on board with, but Johnny gets it back going. And we're now looking at Dan Bathy. Let's see what happens here. Going down, going up Pilgrim's Rise. Oof, that's a very quick incident and quite a big hit into the wall as well. Lots of tyre smoke. I don't think that would have done massive amounts of mechanical damage though. Let's see what happens. We've got Phillips and Stout in the pits as well, so I'm not sure what's happened to them two, but they were P3 and P4, I think. No,
they were further down. Mark was recovering. Oh, Paul's gone off. Oh, and Mark just collects him, and then bang into the wall, and then he sandwiches Paul Stout between the wall as well. Mark Phillips ends up on his roof. And again, it's just some of these little mistakes here, Peter. It's very easy to get caught up in someone else's accident, isn't it, by the look of it? Because the car seems to be breaking away, and then they just quite can't save it.
Yeah, even Mark's ninja reactions wouldn't have been enough there. He was an innocent bystander there. Really unlucky. But that's the challenge of Brands Hatch. It's the undulation, the sweeps and turns. It's a tricky circuit, but that's why we love it, and that's why it is. But these are proper thoroughbred race cars. They don't have traction control. They don't have ABS either. Although I was reading, you can actually retrofit. They come out the factory without ABS, but you can retrofit an ABS system. So I have to say, if I own one of these things in real life, I probably would do that because of my ham-fisted reactions. But it's interesting, and they roll off the production line in exactly the same form as the GT3 road car in Zuffenhausen, and then they get shipped over to Weissach where they get converted ready for motorsport. But they are a proper thoroughbred racer, make no mistake about it. So they require a delicate and skillful approach.
Definitely, you have to be very careful with them. Mark Searle is off the circuit again there, but it looked like Oliver Carwadine under pressure from Mark Bowe. Mark goes down the inside into clearways, side by side, down the not-so-straight at Brands Hatch. down towards Paddock Hill Bend. Bit of a nerve-wracking time this is when you're getting up to the braking zone, knowing you're side by side. Mark Bowe and Oliver giving each other plenty of room. Very tentative around Paddock Hill Bend. But to be honest, Jack, I think we'd rather than be like that than go in all guns blazing and cause an accident, wouldn't we?
We would indeed. And going into turn 1 here at Brands Hatch, Paddock Hill Bend, you've got to make sure you give a little more room than you normally would. And if you need to back out the move, you've got to do so, because it's a very quick part of the circuit, and that's amplified by the downhill section of before Pilgrim's Rise. That's Stuart Clark in the barrier, and he's trying to get it pointing the right way, but I think he might have just got stuck to the barrier. Whether all the wheels are still on his wagon, I'm not 100% sure, but going down through Paddock Hill Bend, over-rotated the car on the compression, hits the wall, not massively hard. It's like he had an issue with that car already, because he struggled to get it back going again. It's now looking very second-hand, but there is Ryan Parkins, our current leader, going down through clearways, now through Clark Curve, and he's really started to build up that gap to 2.2 seconds at the moment, but we've got to remember one little mistake and Gavin Halls will be right there.
Yeah, definitely. It's opened up quite a bit at this point, but we've seen before that it can very quickly close up again as well. Ryan Parkins, though, doing another sterling job here. Gavin Halls, we've not really seen much of him in the race, but no news is good news in that regard. Same with Austin Greatorex and Kyle Sharkey, of course. Paul Rieger in 5th at the moment. We've got Ryan Penny off the circuit a bit further back, but this battle going on here between Rieger and Baxter Jones has closed right up once again. Oliver Carwadine, Mark Bowe and James Cummings are actually a little bit further apart now due to the manoeuvre that went on before. We're just going to have a quick look at what happened to Ryan Penny. Oh, he's just going to go up to Dingledale. Is he going to clip the grass? No. Is he going to clip the grass on the exit? Oh no, he's just gone in too hot there, unfortunately. Manages to stop it spinning though. Just got to be careful on the throttle when you're rejoining, otherwise once it does grab a bit of the tarmac, it will suddenly fling around. But Paul Rieger has managed to gap the number 8 car of Baxter Jones a little bit there. Just going to show you the gains on the left-hand side of the screen as well, everybody. You can see Hazelton and Penny doing a great job. Penny's actually gained 6 places in this one, so the most places gained in this race so far. And don't forget, we have another race coming up for you after this one as well, the final round of the season. Mark Searle has had an issue, and Baxter Jones just tries to avoid him. And he's had a bit of a dodgy rejoin of his own. He's got Cummings on his right-hand side, manages to get it away. Let's have a quick look, though, what happened to Mark Searle, because that car, he's just coming into... Oh, he just clips the grass trying to stay out of the way of Kyle Sharkey, and if anything, he makes it a bit worse there, doesn't he, Peter? But look, good lord.
Yeah, it's funny. It's just as you were talking there, I was just thinking the one thing that Ryan Parkins and Gavin Halls will both have to contend with now is traffic. Just on the last lap, they were going past Andrew Marston in the pig, and I was thinking, okay, so now we're on the back of the back markers now. So that lap traffic is now, and all the guys, as you see, are doing their best to move out the way of the faster drivers, but in doing so, sometimes can get a little bit distracted. So yeah, that's going to be something that Ryan and Gavin are going to have to deal with, and that can often be the difference in the races, how you deal with that lap traffic, because you've got to be kind of decisive and confident, but also you can't be, it's a very fine balance between being over aggressive as well and then getting tangled with back markers. So that's the skill of being a winning driver, being a leading driver, being able to get through either lap traffic or slower class traffic if it's a multi-class sports car race. So seems that Ryan and Gavin are through safely for now, but they'll still have other drivers to get through in the next 5 minutes towards the end of the race.
They will indeed. And Jack, just coming to you, mate, on the whole traffic discussion as well. When you're all in the same car in a single make series, do you reckon it's probably harder for the guys trying to break through past that, like the leaders, or the cars being lapped? Because there's a lot of aspects on both parts that you need to consider, isn't there?
There really is, and I think that's more or less the grey area in motorsport. The normal rule of thumb is, if you are a back marker, stay on your line. It's the quicker cars almost job to get past you in a safe and respectful manner, but then you've got to play your part as well. If you can get off the racing line at any point, maybe not with losing massive amounts of time, for example the Cooper straight or the start finish straight, just go to the outside, lift off or change up that tiny bit earlier just to get the quicker car through, because it carries a little bit more momentum. Maybe that is the way to do it. There's so many different approaches with it that it can really go quite a few ways, but I think the drivers out on circuit, they've more or less acclimatized to what the car can do, and they know who to look out for. And if you see Ryan Parkins coming up in your rearview mirror, you know he's quick, and you know he's only going to get closer unless he makes a mistake. So if I were to see him in my rearview mirror and I wasn't battling, I'd probably just pull off the racing line and just compromise my lap just to make sure he gets through that Simracersworld in the gravel. I don't think he made any contact with the wall. I can't see any damage on first inspection. That's going into Paddock Hill Bend very sideways, hits the curb and then into the gravel. Does a great job of getting it slowed down, holds the brakes, make sure he doesn't speed up the car going into the wall, but he's back going again. Mark Searle, we've seen lots of incidents for him. He's still out on circuit, he's still turning laps, and believe it or not, he's still in 16th position even after all the shortcomings he's had throughout the race, and he's now got himself into a little battle with the very second hand, and as Pete said, a very angry looking Pink Pig.
Yeah, Andrew Marston and Mark Searle have swapped places a couple of times. Baxter Jones and Cummings finally changing. Mark Baxter Jones moves over a little bit there. Wow, I mean, Baxter Jones was chasing Paul Rieger earlier, and he, of course, got overtaken by Cummings when he had that little incident. But, that was, I think, uncalled for is probably the bluntest way I can say it, to be honest. Because I always say, I mean, there's so many series I commentate on in sim racing, and I tell the guys, you don't need to move over on a straight. Just don't do it. I don't care if you want to squeeze the guy to the wall or what. Just don't do it, because it causes incidents. And it's completely unnecessary. And we've got angry pig emojis from Porsche Sport. Oh, Marston and Searle have had an issue again. We need to put these two in a padded cell together, I think. Oh, it's actually... Searle loses it. Oh, Marston just smacks into him and then just stops the car. Is he going to pull it back to the pits? It's not the best of places to stop the car, really, is it? I mean, to be honest, Peter, in the moment, I mean, he's still sat there, but... in the moment, I know that we can easily sit here in the commentary box and say, oh, you shouldn't do that, but there are moments that you still see like that, though. You think, well, you need to at least get it out of the way, don't you?
Yeah, sometimes you just kind of gather your thoughts after an incident, and yeah, like you say, everyone's trying their best, and it's coming down Paddock Hill Bend is. I mean, it's not only one of the most difficult corners in Britain to master. I would wager it's actually one of the most difficult corners anywhere in the world. As we're right on board here, we'll get a good look at it. You know, it's completely blind entry. It's off camber. This car is wanting to swap around on you. Then you're onto the curbs and try and hang on there. And then before you know where you are, you've got to get back on the brakes again for Druid. So I mean, it's. It's such a challenge, so no wonder we've seen so many incidents there. So sometimes maybe after an incident it perhaps requires the driver just to kind of get the bearings again.
Yeah, indeed, and well, Stuart Clark's been trying to get his bearings since the incident earlier on with Luke Holroyd, but he's managed to still drag that car around. He had another little excursion there. Paul Stout was also dropped down after an incident as well, I'm afraid. So it is a race of attrition, this one, at the moment. Ryan Parkins, though, race leader, no attrition on his part. He is still leading the way, 2.2 seconds over Gavin Halls. And I believe that the next lap will be the last one. We have a minute and a quarter to go in this race. So, yes, this will be the final lap of the race. You can see Gavin Halls just in the background there in second place. Austin Greatorex is 6 seconds back from these guys. Still doing a fine job on the podium. Baxter Jones is off and in the wall. That made me jump. Wow. I tell you what. Well, sim racing hasn't made me jump like that before, to be honest. Let's have a quick look what happened here. Going back a bit. Jack, do you want to call this one?
Yeah, why not? So he's going through Westfield, through Dingledon. He's hit the wall once, got all that damage on the front right of the car. Doesn't look like the car's crabbing at any point now, going through Sheen Curve, but still quite a quick rate. And this cameraman is made of tougher stuff than I am, so he gets on the curb because the car is crabbing, can't steer it straight, locks the brakes, and it's a one-way trip into the wall. And once again, that's more contact on the front right. And if I was Baxter Jones, you've got to remember that this is only the last lap, and as much as you want to cross the line and take the checkered flag, if your car's damaged, you don't want to risk anybody else's races. So I think he's done the right thing, pull into the pits, take the repairs, and if he can get out in time, he might just be able to and take the checkered flag. But if not, he's got pretty much one lap left to go, and yeah, I probably would have done the same thing. Yeah,
that's it. You've got to get yourself out of those scenarios sometimes and just think about the bigger picture. It's not all just about your race as well. If you're going to be hampering other people's performance, then you need to just drag it in. But someone that's not dragging it in and has actually probably chilled out a little bit on this lap is newly crowned champion Ryan Parkins. Makes his way around Clearways for the final time and takes round 15 of the championship. Brilliant performance as always. Gavin Halls happy with second place lots more points for him in that one. Actually opened up the gap to Austin Greatorex there by 2 seconds on that final lap. So Austin not having the best final lap there. He rounds out your podium and finishes ahead of Carl Sharkey. We've actually got a battle. We have Paul Rieger and James Cummings behind, but Johnny Elia is really closing onto the back of Oliver Carwadine here, and I'm interested to see whether he can get this done at the end here, Peter. What do you reckon?
Well, it'll be tight, but we've seen it before at Brands, coming around Clark's on to the Brabham straight, heading to the line, but looks like Carwadine's just going to edge it from Elia. Goes to, nearly snatches it on the line there, but well held from Carwadine. That's difficult there.
Yeah, that was shaping up to be a nice fight there, but like you said, just that final run out of clearway is not quite enough. This is Ryan Penny and Carl Hazelton. They're fighting for position, just under half a second between those guys. So we'll just see how they manage to end up here. Hazelton turns in a little bit early into clearways there. Oh, Penny blinking in and out a little bit. Not the perfect time for it, and it's almost the same again. Status quo as the guys come across the line. Penny flashing his lights like mad. That's probably why. And contact over the line there as Hazelton slows it down. And I don't think that was on purpose. I just don't think he was expecting that. Mark Phillips has crossed the line as well, and he's finished in 15th place. He's actually got Ryan Penny's car inside him. That's quite tasty. Mark Searle, car 777, position 17 across the line after the earlier incident with Andrew Marston. Just ahead of him was Amrik Sachdev as well, finishing in 14th position. But Ryan Parkins once again taking the win, and an amazing drive from him. Here are your results for round 15, race 1 of the afternoon then. Mr. Parkins takes the win from Gavin Halls in second place. Austin Greatorex in third there, another podium for him. Carl Sharkey in fourth. That's not too bad for the championship for him, with Paul Rieger strong fifth. James Cummings, he'll be happy with sixth position. Mark Bowe finishing in seventh with Oliver Carwadine, car 80, position 8. Johnny Elia finishing in ninth despite his spin partway through the race as well, so still a top 10. And it's a top 10 for the Haribo car. We really didn't see much of Danny Jones, but he had 13 seconds one way and then 16 seconds the other way, so a bit of a lonely race for him. Carl Hazelton was then in 11th position with Ryan Penny in 12th. Stuart Clark was 13th with Amrik Sachdev in 14th, and Mark Phillips one lap down in 15th, as well as Mark Searle. The other Mark, Baxter Jones, unfortunately after that incident 2 laps down with Andrew Marston in 19th place, and then just at the very bottom there is Paul Stout, Dan Bathy, and unfortunately Luke Holroyd of Porsche Sport not having the most enjoyable time there after that incident with Stuart Clark. But we have come to the end of the first race of the afternoon. If you give us about 10 minutes time, we'll say, about 10 minutes, just after 2:45, we will be back with you for race 2 of the afternoon, the final round in season 1 of the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Championship, with myself, Chaz Draycott, the fantastic Jack Werrell, and the amazing Peter MacKay as well. So we will see you in 10 minutes time, boys.
Those nights when we were younger, and we would never sleep. So let's forget about tomorrow and live for tonight while we're free. sky. Tonight we're coming alive. Touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive. Hands will touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive. From the dust we will awaken, and life will fill our veins. But these are the moments that we live for. Can't keep it inside of me. Hands will touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive. Hands will touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive.
Thank you for your patience, everybody. We're just waiting for the next session to go live now. We shouldn't be much longer, and then we'll get everything loaded in. Get the other two, Jack and Peter, doing a cracking job as always, though, and we'll get those guys loaded in as well. And then we'll be back with you for the final round of the championship here. Can't wait to see how this unfolds. We'll be back with you in a few minutes' time.
Sunlight is not enough. We could burn like a flame through the atmosphere. Yeah. Starlight, it's calling us. Leave the ghosts of our past in the stratosphere. Oh yeah, yeah, it's calling us.
Okay, everybody, the session has just gone live now, so we're just loading in, and Jack and Peter are going to be loading in just now as well. So in just a few minutes' time, we will be back with the final round of the season, round 16 from Brands Hatch. Just give us a few more minutes, and we'll be with you. Thank you very much for your patience. Welcome back then, everybody, to Brands Hatch for the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Championship. Chaz Draycott here with Jack Werrell and Peter MacKay, and we're here for the final round of the season, boys. I can't believe how quickly this has come around, but to be honest, Jack, it's been a hell of a season, hasn't it, from these guys? And I mean, the first series that they've properly organised on iRacing, and they've done a great job, haven't they?
They really have, and I can't wait to come back for round 2 if I'm part of it. I really hope I am, because I would do it again tomorrow if we had a longer season. But I just can't wait for it to kick off again, whether I'm part of it or not, because it's just some absolutely amazing racing and something that you don't necessarily see often in these Porsches, because they are very tricky cars to get a handle on. And like you mentioned earlier on in the stream, that some of these guys hadn't even touched a simulator in their lives, and to see they've got into probably one of the trickiest cars on iRacing, and they've been around a fair chunk of tricky circuits throughout the season as well. So I think they've done a great job, and going into the last round, I'm guessing gloves will be off, people will be going full send or no send at all, because you either go into it thinking, right, this is it now, I'm going to make my mark, or you go into it thinking, right, I just want to finish the last round of the season just to say I've done it. So it's going to be varied racing, I think, throughout, and with that reverse grid, it's going to be quite a unique race, something we maybe haven't seen throughout the season so far.
It has been absolutely brilliant, and Peter, of course, our first series working together as well on Simracersworld TV. It's been a real blast, hasn't it?
It's been really a pleasure. I look forward to it every week. Normally Sunday's a bit of an empty, boring day, especially when there's been no real-world racing on up until very recently. So it's been an absolute pleasure to join you guys in the commentary box for all the rounds of this championship. And I think for us as well as commentators, we're perhaps, we don't normally get to get so involved with the kind of personalities, if you like, in the series, but we've been able to do that with the guys in the championship here, which has been a real pleasure as well. And there's been some, like you say, I think the point you make about people who have never driven on a simulator before, and it's a different skill to driving even a real road car, let alone a race car. And iRacing, because it's so realistic, it's more challenging than, say, a kind of normal game like Forza or Gran Turismo or something like that. So I think all the guys in the in the field can really give themselves a big pat on the back for their efforts. Because I tell you what, we've not gone to the easiest group of circuits either. Places like Donington, Laguna Seca, here at Brands Hatch. These are not giveaway circuits at all, are they?
Oh no, definitely not. It's certainly been a challenge. It's not like we're taking these guys around some of the easiest circuits in the world to just breeze around. It's been very interesting to watch. But Gavin Halls, just quickly speaking about Gavin, he's been one of the guys that we've watched as the season's gone on, really, and I don't want to say he's improved, but he has. Not that I don't want to say, but he's been quick all along, but just had a lot of bad luck earlier on in the season. And I think as it's got towards the end, he's just shown some proper pace now. And it's just the consistency, isn't it, Jack, that you need to drag with you as the season goes on?
It really is, and obviously with the reverse grid race, if you maybe don't have a great race 1, you've always got race 2 to sort of cheer you back up and get towards the sharp end of the field. And me and Peter were talking about this during the intermission a little earlier on there. Amrik Sajdev, he's had a rotten season, he's had a lot of bad luck. Sometimes maybe through no fault of his own, he's been on the receiving end of an incident, or sometimes maybe it was due to his fault. But that always happens with motorsport, and on a very tricky car and on a very tricky circuit, it's easily done. And I think with once again not the greatest race 1 here at Brands Hatch, I'm really hoping, not just for the sake of the championship, but just for the sake of Amrik, that he gets a really good result here today, because there's no other way to put it. I think he deserves one. Yeah,
definitely. He's put in a hell of a lot of effort this season, and to be honest, he was actually he was quite far up the order. I think I remember anyway at Donington Park at the first meeting. So it's been a shame that he's sort of dropped off the pace a bit as the season's gone on, and a lot of the drivers around him have improved. But even still, it's been a hell of a season from all of them. And to be honest, as I said earlier, not all of them came into this as sim racers or people that had really done a lot of sim racing. I know a lot of these guys had come from games like Forza as well on the Xbox, which still, I mean, it's a fantastic racing platform, but iRacing really does chuck you in the deep end in comparison, I think. There's a lot less forgiveness on iRacing, hence the fact that it's considered to be one of the greatest simulators you can get for racing. We've got some great times going in at the moment. Stuart Clark's just had another little excursion there at Paddock Hill Bend. We saw him have issues before as it got to the bottom of the hill. Of course, Jack dubbing it the compression, which is very correct as well, to be fair. It does catch you out down there, though, doesn't it, Peter? Once the car does hit the deck and it all sort of unloads the weight, it can really chuck it to one side if you've got too much lock on.
Yeah, I would almost call it the bomb hole. It's just, like you say, that compression. Can't imagine what that's like on a super bike when the bike's bottoming out on the shocks there coming through Paddock Hill Bend. But of course, here at Brands Hatch, it used to actually be in World War II. It was a military car park, basically. So it was bombed a number of times during the war. So maybe that's where all the undulations came from around this Brands Hatch circuit.
It was made by V2s just everywhere. Well, interesting one that, actually, because you would have thought as well that it wouldn't have been much of an airfield or anything to do with an airfield, really, because of the different elevation changes. That's where you'd obviously, understandably, Snetterton, it used to be an airfield. Silverstone used to be as well. And quite frankly, they're just not got the scenery or the undulation of tracks like Brands Hatch, of course, needing to be as flat as they are. I was actually at Snetterton a couple of weeks ago, and to be honest, even from the commentary box up there, it still surprises me at how flat Norwich is. It's just, honestly, it looks like someone started a world in Minecraft and couldn't be bothered putting the hills in. Well, I don't think that's got anything on the King Hippo reference from last week. Of course, we do have King Hippo with us this evening, or this afternoon. Ryan Parkins is actually in the pit lane. But have you watched any more documentaries of that nature since then, Peter?
No, I haven't, but it seems like the nickname has stuck. That the King Hippo Ryan Parkins is now well and truly stuck within the list of nicknames that we've created over the season. What have we had? We've had Mark Phillips, who's the Bernie Ecclestone of Porsche Club of Great Britain's sim racing. We've got Caravan Carl Sharkey. We've got Paul Ankers Riga, and then King Hippo Ryan Parkins, because of course, in the wild, in the Hippo community, you could say, that there is always a big boss hippo, and everyone wants to try and challenge the boss, and that hippo remains the boss until they are conquered. So for now on, Ryan Parkins will be the king hippo until somebody comes here and dethrones him.
I want him to put a hippo on his livery next season. Ryan, if you're listening, Ryan, I want you to run the number 1 and put a crown and a hippo on the grid somewhere. So we'll have to see. Chris Bowie in the chat has put, Jack, I think I was behind you on the grid last Sunday evening at Silverstone. Did you send it on the grid?
Right. Awkward.
Guilty. Guilty. Absolutely guilty.
I thought, oh, you know what? There's a limited fuel cell in a championship I race in, and I thought, you know what? Let's just get rid of that extra bit of fuel just to see whether I can get to the end. And me being me, I thought, yeah, you know what? It'll be fine. No worries at all. And it didn't even cross my mind that, well, I'm sat here on a grid full of GT3s all belting out hot air, and I'm revving the hell out of my poor little Mercedes, and I didn't think this is going to get quite hot, and I blew the engine before I even got it into first gear. So, yeah, that one's on me. I think I should just stick to the commentary box and stay out of the race cars.
Thank you, Chris Bowie, for that nugget of information that got us into this situation. Paul Stout takes pole position. Andrew Marston alongside him. Baxter Jones and Phillips on row 2. Amric Sash, Devon Stewart Clark on row 3. We then have Ryan Penny, Carl Hazelton, Danny Jones, Johnny Elia, Oliver Carwady, Mark Bowe, James Cummings, Paul Rieger, Carl Sharkey, Austin Greatorex, Gavin Halls, Ryan Parkins, and Luke Holroyd and Dan Bathy have been given a penalty and must start from the back of the grid for retiring in the last race, I've heard. So, the final round of the season, then the curtain will be drawn right now. Away they go. Ryan Penny doesn't get away from the line very well. Look at Mark Phillips through the middle. Go on, son. What a start that was. Launches himself off the line through to the front row, and he's down the inside straight away. Let's have a look then at what happens in the mid-pack with all this madness. All these lot trying to make their way through. What's going to happen at Druids? There's a hell of a check-up. Oh, there's cars off. Johnny Ely has gone straight on. Ryan Penny's in there as well. Ryan's had a really scruffy race meeting by his standards. Andrew Marston's trying to get out of the way, and he's been hit into Carl Sharkey. And Carl Sharkey, of course, he's in the championship hunt, so that's really not helped him. I think Andrew was just trying to get out of the way, but again, didn't really help himself or any of the guys around him. Paul Stout, though, still leading the race, just about from Mark Phillips, though. But to be honest, Jack, I think this is Mark's chance to get a win here. What do you reckon?
Well, if he's going to get the move done, he's better get it done now. Going up into Hawthorne's round the outside before the apex, and he gets that done. So up into P1 at the moment. Look at this battle. This is Carwadine and Greatorex and Clark's getting in on the mix as well. And I've just looked at the timing tower on the left-hand side. Parkins is already up to 14th position. So even though it is the last round, he's really going to push. Look at this strain here. Led by Danny Jones, then Paul Rieger, Cummings, Bathy, Bowe, Holroyd and Parkins all nose to tail through the forest section of the circuit. This is great to see, and I expected nothing less from Porsche 911 Cup cars around the beautiful Brands Hatch circuit. And look at that gap Phillips has already got. That's Paul Stout in the wall.
Paul Stout, the pole sitter, is off on the exit of Stirling's, unfortunately. It's not gone his way in this second race. Let's see if he had any help. I know he was battling with... He's got Baxter Jones behind him. Oh, he's just lost it there, and he's on the grass, and that is not going to stop. Straight on it goes. He's already done it. Oh, just as he corrects it as well. Puts it into the wall. Greatorex, by the way, has gained 11 places so far. Dan Bathy started at the back of the grid, and he's gained 10. He's up to 10th position. What a start from Dan Bathy. That's absolutely amazing. I do want to quickly go back, though, Peter, if you take us through the wonderful start by Mark Phillips here on launch control.
Oh, unbelievable. You know that Mark knew he had the opportunity after a disastrous race one. He gets a good grid spot for the reverse grid race, handles the start perfectly, and he's off at the front. And oh no, Dan Bathy, he's gone off after that great early charge. But yeah, remember Mark Phillips, he has not won a race yet this season. So for him to be our third first-time winner in 4 races would be fantastic. And do you know what? It'd be a nice reward for Mark and all the hard work he's put in to get the series off the ground. Now, speaking of the championship, now we've got 2 kind of battles to worry about. We've got Austin Greatorex and Carl Sharkey. Now, Carl has pretty significant cushion there of 22 points, so that should be all right. But between Gavin Halls and Mark Phillips is slightly different. Gavin Halls is currently 4 points behind Mark Phillips, who's in 4th. And, well, Mark Phillips is going about the right way to defend that position. So let's see how far Gavin Halls can get up, and we'll see how those 2 championship positions finish out.
Well, every point counts right until the end of this season. Parkins has got Mark Bowe all over the back of him here. Just trying to put some pressure on. Dan Bathy in the background there was trying to get past Gavin Halls, who's actually done the fastest lap of the race at 1:27.3. Great stuff from him there. Again, showing that he has the pace of the very quickest guys in this field. Amrik Sashdev has got Stuart Clark all over the back of him. Stuart's going to be looking to make up for that race one, where he had quite a lot of incidents over the course of it, and it was a very rough ride. We'll go on the gearbox camera of Amrik Sashdev looking back then at Stuart chasing him down. It's very close here. Look at this from Danny Jones. Has got James Cummings behind him. Very close indeed, with Ryan Parkins in there as well here, Jack.
Yeah, it's a great little battle. There's a duo, two duos in front of him in a trio. That's Danny Jones losing out to James Cummings up the inside at Hawthorns, but he's looking for the cutback on the way up towards Westfield. He gets it done as well. I'm not quite sure how he got it done that quickly and that cleanly as well. It was pretty textbook from Danny Jones. So Danny back up into 8th position. Cummings behind him has got Ryan Parkins' attention, and this is probably one of the prettiest battles I've seen all day. That's Danny Jones sideways. And all over the grass. Does he get it slowed down again before Sterling's? He keeps out of everybody's way, stays on the line that he was going, and great avoidance driving for everybody. But I think, that, like I said, this is one of the prettiest battles I've seen all day. Amrik Sachdev with a beautiful livery, leading Stuart Clark, Oliver Carwadine and Paul Rieger. Yeah,
I was going to say, I bet you're absolutely loving this one. Looks absolutely stunning indeed. Look at that in the background there behind Danny Jones. You've got Mark Bowe, Johnny Ely, Luke Holroyd, Dan Bathy as well in this. What a fantastic scrap. And I tell you what, we've been given a hell of a treat here for the final round, but I'm just keeping my eye on this though. 4th place back here, Amrik Sachdev defending from Stuart Clark, and then what look like teammates, Rieger and Carwadine, well, are joined at the hip like teammates at the moment. Carwadine and Rieger right together. But as you've said, Peter, it'd be nice to get the 3rd new race winner in 4 races, and it sort of highlights the talent levels in this field and how the guys have really played the game to try and take advantage of it, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. If you have a bad race one, it's not your day isn't over at that point. The kind of consolation prize is you've got that opportunity to make amends in race 2, and we've seen that quite a few times so far in the championship. But Mark is really well. He's driving really strongly out front. But Mark Baxter Jones in the Spearmint Polo looking car, well, he's not far behind at all, and I think if Mark Phillips wants to get the first win in the last race of the season, he's going to have to work for it.
He really will. Baxter Jones has been quick this season, but he's just had a couple of issues. Carl Hazelton's got a big issue there. Let's have a look what happened here. That's on the exit of Sheen Curve. Is he just going to clip the gravel? Or it's already out of shape as he slows it down. Oh, that's going to be a big hit into the wall there, unfortunately. Here's Austin Greatorex. He finished race 1 in, I believe he was 3rd place, wasn't he? He got another podium, but he's already gained 13 places. Amrik Sachdev has gone off. Sachdev and Clark, we've seen the two of them have a couple of incidents over the course of the season. Oh, Stuart Clark there, reversing right onto the racing line as well. I've seen a little bit of questionable stuff this afternoon from Stuart Clark, and I think he's not made many friends here. Oh, he loses it and hits someone again. Oh, he's just lost it on the brakes, and that's the 2nd time we've seen him do it today, Jack. It just shows you, though, how easy it is to do.
It really is. We did mention the braking is a very hard sort of concept in these cars to get right, and it's proven true at the moment. But Carwadine, at the moment, he's lost touch with Paul Rieger. Paul Rieger has got in front of him, and Carwadine has dropped back into the hands of Ryan Parkins. Ryan Parkins starting at the very tail end of the grid. So I think he's now, there we go, yeah, he's up into 6th position at the moment, and as usual, Ryan Parkins working his way up through the order from the tail end of the grid, and he's doing a great job about it. And our current leader, Mark Phillips, I think me and Peter were working it out before race 2. Gavin Halls is 4 points behind Mark Phillips, and Mark Phillips is, well, he's in the lead, so he's going to get a massive haul of points, and Gavin Halls all the way down in P9 after that earlier incident, so I doubt much will change between them two. There is Gavin Halls looking to get past Danny Jones. Ryan Parkins around the outside of Carwadine into turn 1. Great move from Ryan Parkins. Next target for him will be Paul Rieger sliding it through Paddock Hill Bend, and Ryan Parkins, he's just got something over everybody else at the moment. I'm not quite sure what it is, but he's had it all season, and it just seems to have come to fruition in the final round.
He has indeed, and someone that's worth watching here is actually Ryan Penny. The field is actually closing in on him. He's just up the road from these guys, and he's been on and off the circuit more times than I can count in the last 2 laps, unfortunately for him. But we've got a really good scrap going on here as well, actually. It's Dan Bathy really far up the inside of Mark Bowe there, trying to take a very interesting line into Surtees. Danny Jones just at the head of this though. Paul Stout and Andrew Marston have just swapped places a bit further down. Paul Stout having his incident earlier on. Andrew Marston again just trying to stay out of the way a little bit there, playing it nice and safe. But again, these second races have not disappointed, have they, Peter? We've got battles all the way up and down here.
No, it's so frantic. It's fantastic stuff and a brilliant idea, and hopefully it's kept for season 2. As you see, Danny Jones wide on the grass there again, coming out of Sheens, and then rears Ryan Penny in the gravel. Oh, steady, guys. Oh my God. That was close.
It's like a speedway meeting.
So close. Oh my goodness. I was thinking it's somewhere halfway between Mario Kart and a speedway race. Yeah, you're right. My goodness me, I just have to catch my breath there. That was Stan Badley goes to look up the inside of Mark Bowen, nearly gets tagged, and then there's Ryan Penny. It's all happening at all angles. But I have to say, guys, Amrik Sashdev, we mentioned it before the broadcast. What does he have to do to get some luck? I mean, he's running a really strong race, minding his own business in 4th place, and then gets nerfed off at Druids. So hopefully he gets some more luck in season 2, because he's had a lot of good results robbed from him.
Yeah, it's a real shame, isn't it? I mean, you always see it where there's a driver in a series that if they had no bad luck, they'd have no luck at all. Honestly, it's become one of those seasons where Mark Bowe is trying to find every single way around Dan Batty and to try and defend here from Johnny Elia. Johnny all over the back of him. Mark Bowe driving very aggressively at the minute, making sure that there are no position changes concerning Johnny Elia. Johnny's all over him. He's actually managed to get up the inside into Westfield. Mark's going to run wide, and Johnny's opened the door and got it done there. Mark's going to be frustrated at that. Luke Holroyd in there as well. Luke, of course, was involved in Stuart Clark's incident in race 1, and Luke now down the inside as well. So Mark Bowe having a tough lap. Oh, Gavin Halls. Oh, no, sorry, not Gavin Halls. I think James Cummings actually ran wide there. Or was it? No, it was Carwadine. Sorry, Carwadine went off. Let's have a look. A pair of them went past him. Oh, Carwadine's just gone deep. Oh, actually, no, he loses it on the exit, on the throttle. Very scary stuff there. Paul Rieger and Ryan Parkins are having a battle here, Jack.
They are indeed. Paul Rieger currently in 4th position. Not for long, though, I don't think. Ryan Parkins doing everything he can to work his way past. But we're only 10 minutes into the race. We're only halfway through race 2, and we have definitely almost doubled the action from race 1. I think the reverse grid has just got something about it which helps everybody get door to door, and it also helps people battle with other drivers that maybe we didn't expect or didn't see during race 1. But Paul Rieger still just about leading Ryan Parkins. This is Amrik Sachdev once again off the road, but Paul Rieger still in 4th position on the run up to Hawthorne. To put my teeth back in, down Pilgrim's Drop. Ryan Parkins under the rear wing of Paul Rieger. I'm not quite sure whether he'll get the move done this lap, but Ryan Parkins, we know what he's like, and we know he finds the gap when he wants it. Now going through Westfield, down Dingledale. Look how close they are, almost nose to tail, up towards Sheen Curve, and Ryan Parkins on the brakes. He seems to have an edge on the brakes, and he's very sideways through Sheen Curve. We saw that in practice, saw it in qualifying, and we saw it in race 1, and he's done it again in race 2. So I'm sure he's trying to break out of that little habit, but he's dropped back a little bit due to that mistake. Going through Clearways and down towards Clark Curve. I'm not sure he'll get the move done this time going into turn 1, but Paul Rieger goes quite deep. Ryan Parkins that's very sideways through Clark Curve. Kept it out the wall. Great driving from Ryan Parkins to keep it there, and does everything he can to make sure he stays off the racing line. Carwadine flashing his lights, overjoyed that he's picked up a position. He's overtaken Ryan Parkins for the first time this season. But Ryan Parkins, that definitely wasn't what he was looking for.
No, definitely not. And I found it quite funny, really, that Carwadine was there flashing the lights, because Ryan Parkins really had one over on him before, so he's probably going past going, ha ha, just flying down the straight. Oh no, Luke Holroyd's just been hit by Mark Bowe. I was saying earlier, Mark Bowe was driving very aggressively, and Luke Holroyd, honestly, has had no luck this afternoon. Mark just following a bit too closely. Wasn't expecting Luke to slow up that much in the corner. Whoa, nearly getting collected there as well. I think it was Danny Jones, was it, going past? And to be fair, Mark has actually let Luke back through. That's nice to see, isn't it, Peter?
Yeah, very gentlemanly indeed. As they head up through Surtees over towards Hawthorne Bend. Of course, Mike Hawthorne, of course, he was known as the ultimate gentleman racer. He actually raced into his Formula One World Championship wearing a bow tie underneath his overalls. He was known for that, and also won at Le Mans as well. But yeah, I hope. Look, he has not had the luck. But I have to be honest, the Ryan Parkins, seeing Ryan Parkins make not one mistake but 2 mistakes today, well, that's rarer than rocking horse droppings, I'd say.
I'm glad you said droppings then. I thought you were going to go full. I thought you were going to go full out on that phrase there for a second. I had my mute button ready. Mark Phillips then, the Bernie Eccleston of the championship, of course, leading the way. Luke is now going to lose out to Mark Bowe. Mark gets it done properly this time, although Luke's actually got the cutback on him there. I saw the gap drop in, and now he's seeing absolutely no chance. It's car 911 versus car 11, and Mark just saying, "This is mine now, mate." Just squeezing him a little bit down the inside there. Karl Sharkey's just going past Amrik Sashdev. Karl Sharkey, of course, making his way back up the order after his earlier coming together with Andrew Marston. James Cummings and Dan Bathy are close together here, though, Jack. And these battles, honestly, some of the what we'll call the front runners make their way through. It's really interesting to see the different pace and, of course, the racecraft of some of these guys that usually wouldn't be as high up as them in the order, but it's great to see them battling together, isn't it?
It really is. It shows that no matter how much time and practice you put into the practice sessions held during the week and before the races, and depending on what your qualifying position is, even if you get a bit of bad luck, you can end up finding yourself quite a nice little race partner. Dan Bathy looking up the inside. I think he gets it done. He does indeed. Well done, truly. Covers off the cutback as well. So James Cummings drop back now. There's Carl Wadine. He's got the attentions of now Johnny Elia behind him ahead of Ryan Parkins. But Ryan has worked his way back up onto the tail end of this battle. So he got the move done once and he will have to get it done again. This is now Paul Rieger under pressure from Gavin Hulls up the inside.
Oh,
Paul
Gavin!
Rieger, get it back. That's Gavin Hulls sideways on the grass once again. It's something that Brands Hatch clearly has an effect on these Porsches. They're very hard to break in a straight line. Yeah,
we had another incident then where someone loses it and takes out the guy that they're trying to have a fight with. Rieger's just minding his own business, and then pow in the side, and then you can hear him just dump the clutch and make sure that that the car gets stopped without hitting the wall. Gavin Hulls will be kicking himself for that one though, because I mean he won't have meant it. None of the guys have meant it this evening. I do want to reiterate that while I may have said that some of them weren't being careful or weren't quite ready for it or a bit reckless, they don't do it on purpose. It's very difficult to drive this car with the brake bias that it has, and we've seen it a few times tonight. And it comes back to what I was saying at the top of the broadcast, doesn't it really, Peter, about when you've got to push it that extra bit when you're in a battle, it's easy to lose concentration and just overdo it a bit.
Yep, it certainly is, for sure. The braking in particular, I think, is the most tricky aspect of this car. No anti-lock brakes at all. You'll see actually the little kind of little twisty knob there beside the steering wheel. That basically means you can actually adjust the brake bias on the fly to try and help you with the balance depending on what corner you're at. But yeah, even then it's a tricky car, because you've obviously got the weight at the back of the car kind of wanting to overtake you as well. So you've kind of got to do the old classic Porsche. Oh, as we see Stuart Clark going off, oh dearie me. Yeah, you kind of almost got to go do the really quite exaggerated slow in and fast out, because you have unmatched traction out of the corner. So getting the power down out the corner is no problem. That's lovely. But getting it slowed down, turned in and pointed up in the right direction, that's the tricky bit. And that's where the best drivers like Ryan Parkins and such have been able to do. Now, just an update on the championship. Now with Gavin Hulls getting involved in that incident, that makes sure that Mark Phillips is safe in 4th place. But if Austin Greatorex is able to win and Karl Sharkey stays where he is, then Austin will move up to 2nd place and Karl will fall back to 3rd.
So it's still all to play for the rest of these guys. Ryan Parkins may have won the championship, but it is not over. This is Paul Rieger and Gavin Hulls dancing together as they go towards Hawthorns, and it doesn't quite work. Oh, Paul Rieger suffering with that damage though, isn't he? He's having a bit of a tough time. Carl Wadine has got Parkins behind him again. He's not flashing his lights now though, but I tell you what, I imagine he will do when he goes past. Oliver Carvadine has been a fan of the flashing lights button this season. And it makes it a little bit entertaining as well, doesn't it, Jack? Because I always compare bike racing and obviously car racing as well, in the way that with bikes you can see the body language of the person riding the bike. And, you know, there's a bit more sort of interaction from viewer to rider in that regard. As Dan Bathy's gone off again. That's a lively moment into the wall, son. That is a hard hit for Dan Bathy. He keeps the car out of the way, but he's just annoyed at himself and he's just ragging it, and unfortunately that's going to be the end of that. I was going to say, sometimes with the flashing lights and the way the car behaves, you can see the body language of the car, and it just makes it a bit more readable, doesn't it, as a viewer?
Yeah, I think it does. I couldn't really agree with you more, to be fair, because if you see it, the car sliding around a lot and not really looking settled, you can tell the driver's angry inside. If you can see the car's looking very much under control, and it looks like Ryan Parkins has got the car under control. He looks for the old switcheroo going down Pilgrim's Drop on the run up to Hawthorns, and I think he's going to get the move done around the outside. He's going to have to be late on the brakes, carries the momentum all the way around the outside. Carwadine sticks to the inside, but he's now left himself vulnerable to Johnny Elia just behind. So this little trio is not going away anytime soon. And once again, Amrik Sachdev having another unfortunate incident. And I just feel so sorry for Amrik. He's had a rotten season and a rotten couple of races. But one thing he has always done is he's got the car across the line just to show how committed he is to this race. But look at Ryan Parkins now, all the way up to 6th position. He's gained 12 positions, but somebody that was probably the biggest mover in the field was Dan Bathy. He'd gained 16 positions until that big hit, but he has now dropped back to the tail end of the field. James Cummings is up to 4th position, Ryan Parkins 5th, Oliver Carwadine 6th, and Johnny Elia in 7th.
Yeah, it's crazy. Once a couple of guys do drop off, it's mad who suddenly becomes a front runner in these races. Speaking of front runners, though, Mark Phillips has a 2.7 second lead. Gavin Hall's fastest lap of the race on that last one as well, 26.009. But yeah, Mark Phillips, Bernie Eccleston himself has done a great job in this race, to be fair. That start was crucial in this one. And to be honest, it can be, can't it? Oh, Luke Holroyd is off. What has happened, Luke? Carl Hazelton's gone off at the same time as well. Mark Bowe. There's a bit of contact between the pair of them. I don't know whether that was Mark moving over or what, but we know that Mark's been defending aggressively, but I can't really pin that all on him without seeing it back. Carl Hazelton's just got going again there in front of Mark Phillips. But I think this is going to be it, though. The final corner for Mark, and the series organiser himself, as Carl Hazelton gives him a bit of a show around the final corner. He's finally done it. Mark Phillips takes the win in the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Championship. The final round is done. Baxter Jones second. Greatorex finishes in 3rd place. Doesn't quite advance in the end there. And James Cummings is just going to beat Ryan Parkins over the line here. But Ryan has done it. He rounds out the championship. He is the champion now. Fantastic work by Ryan all season. And he's got it done, Peter.
He has, yeah. I mean, that's about as calamitous as a race will get for Ryan. You know, he's had just such consistency throughout the season. But I have to say, well done, Bernie Phillips, getting that win at the very last race of the season. And he knew he had a good grid spot. He knew he had to make it count, and he really executed so well at the start. Got that start off, got into the lead quick, got his elbows out, and then drove a really consistent race. And it's hard to keep the concentration there as well. So well done to Mark Phillips. Brilliant job. And also Mark Baxter Jones in 2nd place as well. Great drive from him. And here's Carl Sharkey, who will be your championship runner-up as he gets the car home in 14th place in this final race.
Yeah, nicely done by Carl as well. He'll be sort of a bit relieved after that one, won't he, Jack? After the start he had, that's not quite how you want to hold a championship position. Is getting involved in an incident. It may not have been his fault, but he did sort of just get caught out by contact, really, didn't he, in that one? But there we go. It's easier said than done, isn't it, to hold on to a position in the championship in the final round when you've got a reverse grid to think about.
It really is, and knowing full well that the driver that is your challenger for the final runner-up spot is in 3rd position and was gaining very quickly on the current leader. I think Greatorex only finished around 5 seconds behind Mark Phillips in the end, and knowing that that's going on in front of you, surely that will just add even more pressure to yourself, and in a car that's very tricky to drive on a circuit that is quite unforgiving. I can imagine he had his hands full, but managed to cross the line P14, like Peter said, and secure the final runner-up spot in the championship. And Greatorex, consistent is the word that springs to mind, I think, for Austin. He's had some good results throughout the season, and he really gelled with the car, but sadly he didn't get onto the runner-up spot. And I'm going to hand you back over to Chaz to run you through the final race results of the final round of the first season of the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Championship.
Love it, thank you, Jack. Mark Phillips and Mark Baxter Jones, the two Marks, as I said in the first race, they end up 1st and 2nd in race 2. Very well done to the pair of them. Mark Phillips, of course, as Peter said earlier, is now our 3rd new race winner in 4 races in the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Championship. Austin Greatorex gets 2 podiums out of this afternoon. He will be very happy with that. James Cummings, another decent result for him, finishing in 4th, very under the radar there, with Ryan Parkins just behind. Oliver Carbadine, he improves on his race 1 position and finishes in 6th. Johnny Elia finishing in 7th, again more championship points for him. Gavin Hall's in 8th with Paul Rieger 9th. Danny Jones rounding out the top 10. And again, Danny not quite featuring on our screens as much in that one, but still, solid points for him. Mark Bowe will finish, well, has finished 11th in car 11, with Stuart Clark and Luke Holroyd behind him. Carl Sharkey, championship runner-up in 14th place with Paul Stout 15th, and Amrik Sashdev in 16th place. He'll be hoping for more luck next season for sure. Carl Hazelton finished in 17th, with Dan Bathy 2 laps down in 18th. Andrew Marston in 19th place there, just 2 laps down. And Ryan Penny was 20th, 9 laps down off the leader. But what a season indeed. And Gavin Halls is away still doing the donuts here at the bottom of Paddock Hill Bend. He's just realised that he doesn't need these tyres anymore. He's probably just trying to get rid of the Michelins to try and prove a point and get Pirelli on board. Of course, Pirelli are the one of the partners of the Porsche Club GB. And Gavin is trying to, I think he's doing a tyre life experiment. What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, absolutely. He's proving that the durability of the Pirelli tyre is far superior. And I think that's what he's trying to prove on behalf of our sponsor Pirelli, who we must say have supported Porsche Club of Great Britain's motorsport activity for many, many years alongside Petro Canada and Lockton Insurance. And well, if you've been watching our whole season, you understand just how important a good insurance policy is with Lockton Insurance. We've had a few off-track incidents. So yeah, thanks to Gavin for putting on a demonstration there of why Pirelli are the tyre for your Porsche.
They certainly are indeed. And what we're going to do now is jump back to the very start of the race and just keep an eye on things that were going on here. Well, to be fair, out of all people that we're going to interview, we have to start with the one and only, the current newly crowned champion. Ryan Parkins joins us in the booth. Ryan, today was very exciting. I mean, we saw a couple of mistakes from you in the second race, but it seemed like you're having a lot of fun out there.
Oh, it's just so much fun. It's just great. Everyone's really good, and even in race 1, I couldn't slow down. Still had Gavin behind me. He was still pushing really hard, so you still had to be on it, and you still had to pay attention. Second race, it's just great, isn't it? Everyone's really door banging, and trying really hard. Even people losing on their own, but they still are trying to not crash into everyone when they do lose it. I don't know if that's really a compliment, but it's really good. It's really good fun. Like everyone, that small bit of chaos is really good.
Yeah,
really
definitely. It makes it nice and exciting from a driving and viewing perspective as well. And of course, as Jack highlighted earlier, it creates battles that if it was just off raw pace in qualifying, you wouldn't always see. So you get interesting little pairings over the course of a race where there actually becomes a bit of a cork in the bottle, because some of these guys are really strong when it comes to defending, aren't they?
Well, yeah, exactly. And the lap times aren't that far off. You only talk even like a second and a half difference between me and down the grid. I can't overtake them. I have to be really clever.
Yeah.
I couldn't get past Paul Rieger, Oliver Corderdine. I was really struggling to find a position and try and wait for them to make a mistake. That's why when I spun, it was just because I was pushing the last sector to get really close to Paul for the last corner into clearways. I think it's for the the straight. But that's why I lost it. I overheated the tyres too much, and then just
Well, it got described as rocking horse drop-ins, that pair of mistakes in that race. So I don't think Peter's going to let you live that one down very soon. But it was another good afternoon for you, though. I mean, still plenty of points. Of course, the points really weren't that much of a concern to you already, having the championship wrapped up. But just sort of talking about the entire season, how have you found it overall, just from a driver's perspective? Not even just coming away as the champion, but how was it to actually just take part?
It was brilliant, and because of the fixed setup, it just means you just have to improve, and you have to work that and dial that in your inputs, and you have to learn that setup, learn the car that particular way, and really trying to find time in the smallest of areas, like shifting at the right point, braking, like threshold braking, and try and move the brake bias. It's a driver's championship. It's a driver's car. It's a driver's championship, and it's thoroughly enjoyable. I recommend it to everybody to just try it. Get in a friend simulator and try it out, and having the community and everyone improving as well, because they're not improving their setup, they're not chasing time, they're chasing themselves to catch up and really like improve themselves. They're not improving a car or a setup or engineering, or they're out there to improve themselves as drivers, and hopefully that can translate to real world, the track days and the lucky people that can go out and drive in racing series.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's been great to see you taking part, Ryan, and of course winning the championship as well, and of course the help that you've given all the other drivers as well. I know that there's a lot of guys out there that are very grateful for that. So from us as well, well done. It was amazing, really a great season for you. And just before we let you go for the final time this season, do you want to give a shout out to anybody in particular?
No, because I've done it every race so far, so I'm sure they're all really bored of hearing me. But I do want to say that next season's going to be fantastic. Everyone's going to be really improving. Everyone's improving their hardware. Everyone's going to be up there fighting for it, and it's going to be much better. So everyone needs to come back when it does kick off. I'm sure you'll let everyone find out when the times are.
Cracking. Well, thank you very much, Ryan. Great to speak to you as always, and we'll see you next season, I'm sure.
Thank you very much. Cheers, boys.
Cheers. Out to get everyone next season then, the current champion Ryan Parkins. And Jack, I'll give you the next one, mate. Who do you want to take your pick from in there?
Let me have a look. Somebody we haven't brought in for many times. I haven't brought him in the box much this season, but Mr. Mark Baxter-Jones joins us in the commentary box, everybody. So massive welcome to you, Mark. And you've had a couple of great results going into the closing stages of this season. How has that come about for you? Is that just all the assistance from the community, or have you just been learning more and more as the week goes on, and you're just really starting to gel with the car? How have we got you in the box, Mark?
He's speechless. He's muting and unmuting his mic. I can see it. He's trying, but yeah, we can't hear you, I'm afraid, buddy. Not quite sure why. He's left, and now he's going to rejoin again as well. So he's trying everything in the book at the moment. Is Mr. Baxter-Jones, and we will wait and just for a minute or so, just to make sure we can have a chat with him. He's into the interview waiting room. We'll drag him back in. Are you there, Mark? Oh no, we still can't hear him. I'm not quite sure why. Mark, we'll let you try and sort that out, mate. If you're in the interview waiting room, and we'll come back and get you. We'll have to try and choose another one then, Jack. I'm afraid.
Let's bring in Austin Greatorex. So here he is, finishing P3 in the championship overall. Sadly, losing out. Oh no, pardon me. You weren't P3. Sorry about that.
Oh no.
Going. I know, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. Oh, hands up on that one. But Mr. Austin Greatorex, it's been an eventful season for you because you've been there or thereabouts, and it just seems you've had a couple of unlucky rounds, but with other than those rounds, you've had some great battles towards the pointy end of the field.
Yeah, it's been a very, very good season in total. I had 2 DNFs and I missed, I want to say Silverstone it was, altogether, so to still be top 3 in the championship, I'll take that all day long. But congrats to Cal today. He held on just, I guess, and I did what I needed to do to keep 3rd in the championship, so it's been good.
Well, you did a great job, but nonetheless, and going into Brands Touch, obviously the final 2 rounds of the season, it's going to be, I'm guessing, a circuit that you want to make sure you've got down to pick up those final few points to add up towards the standings. And we were saying it and reiterating it throughout the broadcast. Brands Hatch is a tricky circuit. There's no escaping that with the lack of runoff and the type of runoff as well. It's just straight to grass. Was that something that you maybe found a challenge with?
Yes, it's probably the hardest for me, or it might be the same for some of the others. It's probably the hardest track we've raced all season, because everything's either off camber or braking zone up a hill or down and bumps and everything. You had to keep concentration the whole race, and both of them, once I was in 3rd, I realised I couldn't push any harder. There was no point pushing any harder to make a mistake, just take the points and take 2 podiums.
Well, you did a good job nonetheless. And with this being obviously the final time we're going to have you in the box for Season 1. Season 2, what are your wishes for that? Anything change or anything like that? Or is it just pretty much a carbon copy of Season 1?
Pretty much a carbon copy of Season 1, other than try and get a bit closer to Ryan in the Championship, I guess. I think Gavin will be up there next year. If Matt Dorrington and Matt Carlhenny participate all next season, they will be up there. Maybe Dan Bathy as well. So it'll be an interesting championship. So hopefully our top 3 is my aim again. If not, first place. But that'll be a hard challenge.
Well, I'm sure it will be, and I'm glad you mentioned Ryan Parkins, because you brought me very nicely onto my my next question, which I'd written down. Your biggest rival throughout the season, would you say that was Ryan, or is there somebody that's flown under the radar that maybe you've struggled with throughout the season?
For the championship would have been Ryan, but personally I'd have probably said Carl Sharkey. Me and him are probably the same pace everywhere we go, so he's been the person that's been my main. If I can keep up with Ryan, that was a bonus, but Carl's the one I've had my eye on. We have a lot of racing together. We're in a different championship that you guys stream as well, so we've got a lot of banter between us. So he's probably my biggest competitor to race for a season. Ryan, if I get to race with him, it's just a bonus.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing you back out on the circuit for Season 2, and I think if I get it right, there was only about a 6-week break until round 1 comes about, and you've got a couple of fun events going on in between, if I'm correct, and I'm sure that is only going to make you ever quicker in this car, because I'm not quite sure what you're going to be able to do to keep up with Ryan Parkins, but I'm sure you've got a few little tricks in mind, and maybe join one of Ryan's coaching sessions, because I've heard they've been quite useful throughout the community over the season. But while we've got you in the box, any final words for the final time this season?
Yes. Firstly, I'd just like to congratulate Chaz on his new house. I see that on his social media the other day.
Thank you, Austin. Cheers,
congratulations.
Mate. Thank you,
I'm
buddy.
currently trying to buy a new house, so I know it's hard work.
Yes, it is.
But just like to say thank you to everyone that's part of the championship, from the people that have organised it, Mark and Carl, to everyone that participates in it, for everyone to spend the best part of 3 hours on their Sundays. It is hard for people that have got families and stuff, so it's been great to have such a good grid each race. You guys for the commentary week in, week out, you do a stellar job. I think we only had the one mishap at Monza when we had a blank race as such, but just loads of commentary.
My fault.
Yeah, and then just the likes of Gavin, Matt Dorrington and Ryan for all their help of helping the people that aren't as quick as them, giving the tuition, and bringing everyone closer. It's been good fun, good championship, and I'm looking forward to Season 2.
Brilliant. We hope to see you there, and obviously good luck between now and then with your house move and whatever else you've got going on.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Austin.
Have a
Thank
good day,
you, mate.
gents.
Nice one. Austin Greaterx there. He did actually finish third in the championship in the end, Jack. We've had the standings sent to us just 2 minutes ago by Mark Phillips. Just before we bring in the next interviewee, I just want to quickly scan down that. Ryan Parkins wins the championship on 344 points to Carl Sharkey's 231. And then behind him, it's incredibly close, because in 6th position, James Cummings had 159 points. Johnny Elia had 158. It's only 1 point between those guys. And then Mark Bowe was only 2 points behind them. And then Paul Rieger and Mark Baxter-Jones were tied on points for 9th and 10th. It's absolutely incredible. But considering that he's on his own in the interview room, and I feel sorry for him, but he's going to be absolutely over the moon with a race win, Peter MacKay, I'm going to put him on the spot, will now take away the interview with, well, Bernie himself, Mark Phillips, race winner as well.
Well, welcome to the commentary box. Race winner, Mark Phillips, the Bernie Ecclestone of Porsche Club of Great Britain Motorsport. Now, I remember the two of us putting together a 10-minute highlight reel for a little Cayman GT4 race at Lime Rock Park, Mark. It seems like we've come a long way in a very short space of time, thanks to the efforts of yourself and Carl and a few others.
Oh yeah, crikey! It seems like years ago since we did that, Peter. What was it, 3 months ago or something? But yeah, looking back on that, you know, from the first sort of test race we did at Lime Rock Park, which was hilarious. There was, a dozen of us, and then you and I spending 2 hours trying to make a 10-minute replay out of it. I don't know how we managed to make such a lengthy thing out of that. And then I look at what you, Jack, and Chaz are doing with the broadcasts and how amazing it looks, and you're doing it in real time as well. It's been an absolutely fantastic journey, and I've got to admit, I'm I'm surprised at getting a race win. It's taken 15 races to get there, and I'm not very good at handling pressure. I keep looking down at the relative, and I could see Mark Baxter-Jones just sitting there, really confidently right behind me, and I could see Austin coming through the pack like a hot knife through butter. I was firmly expecting to have a very sweaty defence of P1 with Austin right behind me, but I don't think he got there in the end. I managed to find my brand's groove.
He certainly did, yeah. That's what we thought. You executed so well off the start line. Was that something coming into the race? I take it you were aware of the opportunity that had presented itself, having a good grid position for race 2 and getting that good launch. You looked like a man on a real mission at the start of that race.
Yeah, I've spent the last few races doing quite a bit of practice with launching the car off the line. I mean, we had a whole discussion in the digital paddock some time ago, and Austin rightly said that the quickest way off the line was with the clutch, but it's really hard to get that right. So I've been doing lots and lots of practice with the clutch just to get those slipping of the clutch starts right. Now, given the guys that were around me in the position I had, where did I start? 4th, 5th, something like that. I wasn't entirely sure that my start would be useful because it's usually such chaos in race 2. I was actually quite relaxed sitting there because I thought I'm going to get collected at some point or another. So I firmly anticipated getting off from the line and getting collected. But before I knew it, I was out the front, and then I'd got the pressure on myself of trying to hold that position. But yeah, worked out okay in the end.
You certainly earned it well. Now, for our viewers who have grown consistently over the season, is there any little sneak previews you can give us of what to expect for season 2?
Well, we've got, I think there are 40 people in the league. There was something like low 20s to high 20s of regular turnouts, which is pretty good. We have 100 people in the Discord, and we know there are a whole bunch of people sitting there waiting for season 2. Because as we said near the beginning of the season, we would lock the season to early entrants, so that the group grew together, basically. Because that's been the real beauty of this series, is having the really, really experienced racers in there, and then the absolute newbies to sim racing and everything in between, and having that sort of spread. You know what it's like when you go and do an iRacing race in the official series, is when you've got a bunch of skills like that, it usually ends up being a lot of crashing. And this group has gelled together so well over the period. That's why we wanted to close off the season. We will do the same thing with season 2. At the moment, it's debatable over whether we will need to have splits depending on the number of people that come into it. We're anticipating quite an influx, which hopefully will make the racing even more fun. Can you imagine grids of 40 with a reverse start? That could be quite a laugh.
It certainly will. That's for sure. Well, it's we're thoroughly looking forward to it, and I'm sure all of the drivers are. Now, before we let you go, Mark, go and enjoy the rest of your Sunday and go for your decompressed dog walk, as you like to do. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of people you'd like to thank who names we recognise, but also some who we don't in the Porsche Club as well. So now's the chance while you're live on Simracersworld TV.
Thanks very much, Peter. Obviously, there's the obvious thanks to you guys for the job that you do. You make it entertaining. It's your voices, your insight, and your entertainment that keeps people like Ryan's sponsor Kate coming back, and keeps my wife coming back. My wife actually sat herself down on the sofa this afternoon with a non-alcoholic beer and said, I'm going to enjoy this, which is great to see. But there are people who you never hear anything about who do quite a lot of stuff in the background. I want to say thanks to Beth and George in Porsche Club. They do a tremendous amount of work with media, social media, the website, copy, newsletters, all of those things that people forget are, big drivers for people learning about the series. So we've got to say thanks to them. I actually want to say a thanks to Dave Cameron, Dave Camp, for coming along for some of the early races and being such a good sport with all the fun, making his little videos on them, because they were tremendously entertaining. And of course, the biggest thanks that I have to say is to everybody who's joined in and raced this season, because the wonderful community that we have with this race series, the great fun that we've had, the enjoyment, has been because of the group that's got involved and the way they've got involved with it. It's been tremendous fun, and I've enjoyed every moment of it.
Well, we've certainly enjoyed it just as much, and thank you for the kind words about the broadcast. Mark, go and enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and enjoy being, well, you'll be the reigning race winner. You might be the King Hippo until we start season 2.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, guys. I'm looking
Thanks,
forward to
Mark.
watching the replay later. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Mark. Well, smashing stuff then, and that does bring our season to a close, boys. But just as we close the curtain on it, then I'll start with you, Jack. What's been your highlight this season, and what's sort of your roundup of what's been presented to us here?
I'm going to be honest, you might have probably seen this coming from a mile off. It was the first and last round, mainly because Donington Park, second favourite circuit, it's got deep family roots within my family as well, and that's just added that extra little bit to it. And it's the first time we saw everybody race together, and it almost set the tone for the rest of the season. Going from rounds 1 and 2, we knew that we were in for a treat, and it's just excelled from there. And then the final round today, rounds 15 and 16 at Brands Hatch, it just highlights what a great community that has been built up through the hard work of everybody at Porsche Sport and all the sponsors affiliated with themselves. It just shows that no matter what you do, you will always end up with a great community of drivers if you do and say the right things. And I think that's what happened. We've gelled a load of drivers together, and they help each other a hell of a lot throughout the season as well. And that's great to see. And season 2, it's going to be a pleasure if I get the opportunity to cover that. And it's obviously been a great pleasure to commentate with yourselves throughout season 1, and I probably wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, we have had a hell of a laugh during this season. It's been a lot of fun, and thank you, of course, Jack, as well. It's been great to work with you again on this one. And Peter, you too, mate. It's been a hell of a lot of fun. What's your sort of roundup on the season?
Well, I have to be honest, slightly selfishly, I have to say it's just been an immense pleasure to be able to commentate on a live broadcast with you guys for the Porsche Club of Great Britain. The first ever kind of commentary I ever released was with the guys at Lime Rock Park in their opening race, which was just meant to be a little bit of fun, and then it's kind of it's amazing how quickly it's increased. Also, when we had the International Sim Racing Challenge, when we raced against the Porsche Club of America, that is an amazing event, and can't wait to see something like that come back again. But I have to be honest, echoing Jack's sentiments about the community around the racing. We've mentioned that a lot in the broadcast, and we've mentioned it a lot because it's something that is relatively rare, and it's, you know, I've seen other series where the participants are at each other's throats rather than helping one another. So that's been really nice. But also, I have to say a huge thank you to all the guys, all the drivers and family members who've actually got in touch with us to say how much they've enjoyed the broadcast. And that's something that actually very few people do, and it means a huge amount, and I'm sure it does to you guys as well. And to know that there's people out there enjoying the broadcast, well, that's been a real joy. So yeah, it's been a pleasure.
It really has, and thank you everybody as well that has been watching the broadcasts over the course of the season. We have been Simracersworld TV, Chaz Draycott, Jack Werrell and Peter MacKay with you for this one. Thank you, of course, to Porsche Club GB and everyone involved at that end. Mark Phillips and Carl Sharkey as well for getting us involved and, well, giving us such a fantastic series to commentate on. But we could go on about it all day, but the season has come to a close, and hopefully we will see you all in a couple of weeks' time for Season 2. Make sure you keep an eye out on the Porsche Club GB Facebook page and all their social media as well for any updates. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, and we'll see you soon.